Morning, everybody. It's Saturday, July the 26th, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. Scattered storms and 85 will be the high. Wait a minute. This is all wrong, guys. This says Wednesday. Here's Saturday. I don't know if this is even close. It says sunny, hot, and 95. Tomorrow, Sunday, record heat, 99. Monday, 98, and Tuesday, 93. I don't know. We got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday weather. Well, it's what to be expected. Let me set this up. I was at a motorcycle show a few weeks ago, and I had entered my bike in the show, and I was introduced to Karen White, and she was just a remarkable woman, and she and her husband. Why don't we bring them up on the show? Please say good morning and welcome to the show. First, Karen White is with us. And then Bobby Henline, I can't wait to have him on as well. Karen, we start with you. Good morning. Thanks for coming on the radio show.
Well, so appreciate it.
Don't sweat it. Hey, Bobby, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on? Thanks for having us on.
My pleasure. I want you to come in the studio. I'm going to Sturgis, and then the following Saturday, if we can pull it off, I'll get you in our studio to talk as well. I want to meet you. But long story short, first, Karen, if you would, talk about how and when this all began to make motorcycles adaptive for returning GIs.
Well, we were formed in 2013. Two of our founding people were at a bike rally, and they looked around and they saw all the guys, the vets who had been severely wounded in combat that weren't able to ride. And it just made them feel terrible, first of all, and then they decided that they needed to do something about this. So after being formed in 2013, our first recipient received his bike in 2014. His name is Charlie Linville. He was also the first amputee to ever summit Mount Everest.
Wow. And who built the bike?
For Charlie, I'm not exactly sure because that was before my time.
Okay.
But we have several builders around the country in different states.
Who built the bike that you're giving Bobby?
Billy Hallman from Outcast Cycles in La Junta, Colorado.
Sure.
This is his second bike build for us. He did one last year, and he'll be doing another one for us for 2026 as well.
Actually, I know him. I know his work, and he's top notch. I want to talk about Brandon at Devil's Head because they were also kicked in for this too. And Brandon has a new baby. He has a new son.
Oh, did they have their baby?
They had their baby, Brandon Jr.
Awesome. Yeah.
So anyhow, so it's now Bobby? What's the bike that you're getting? I haven't seen it. So, and what adaptations have those guys made?
Well, adapted to a trike with the trike kit on it, and then automatic. Since I don't have a left hand, I can't pull the clutch. It'll be a little difficult, but you never know. Phantom pain, I can imagine it. Use the force on it, but they said that wouldn't work.
Oh, wait a minute! I think I saw a picture of it here for the first time. You, I read your bio. What a remarkable man you are. Would you take a second and talk to the audience about yourself? And then he's become a stand-up comic, which my admiration is amazing. So, Bobby, take a minute, if you would, and speak about yourself.
Yeah. I originally joined the Army at 17 years old. I was in Desert Storm and did 3 years of military, got out, thought I was done, started a family, and then just after I turned 30 years old, 9/11 happened. And I knew I couldn't let that happen to my country and not do anything about it. So I was back in basic training the next month, October 31st. At 30 years old, went back to basic training, jump school, did 3 more tours to Iraq. And then on my 4th tour, my Humvee was blown up by a roadside bomb. I was the only survivor out of the 5 men in the vehicle. And just going through everything and therapy, I burnt over 38% of my body. My head was burnt to the skull. Eventually, they took my left hand after 2 years. And I just knew I had to keep living for my angels. I had to keep going, and I used my sense of humor to get through it all. And eventually my occupational therapist said, you got to try stand-up comedy. Like, there's no way that's going to work. I can't go to the general public and tell them I got blown with my rack. Isn't that funny, right? They don't have that dark sense of humor that we have. They want to help us, not laugh at us. But she kept bugging me, so I went to go prove her wrong 15 years ago. And so I'm still trying to prove her wrong today.
Well, I just from my reading, I read about you last night. You made your debut, and this was in August 2009, and you walked out on the stage. Were people expecting you to be this guy that walks out and begins to perform?
Right. No, you don't go to a comedy club and expect Freddy Krueger to walk out and tell jokes.
That's funny. Yeah.
So I understand that. So I just kind of take my time, like take 10 seconds, kind of stare at the audience, let them feel uncomfortable for a minute. Yeah. And then just whisper into the mic, "You should see the other guy."
Yeah.
And it kind of puts him a little bit at ease there, and I slowly bring him in. I know some laugh right away. Those are usually the veterans in the audience.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Bobby's been burned very badly, and I love the line Freddy Krueger comes out and starts doing jokes. But I mean, you're the man. Anybody that's got, you got the heart of a lion. I want you in the studio. I want to be able to help. But so now, are you traveling like a lot of comics?
Traveling, comedy, motivational speaking. I got my own nonprofit trying to help other veterans. I know first responders too, that they're going through something, maybe even something that I learned that helped me, that I could share that with them, or we could share with each other at retreats. So that really helps heal stuff. And of course, Combat Hero Bike Build, we know bike therapy, wind therapy is amazing. A lot of us rode before. So just doing that connectivity through everybody and bringing us together and making sure we're not alone.
Promise me,
yeah.
you and I will ride together. I mean,
I'd
be honored.
Definitely ride.
Yeah, and but you started traveling and speaking, and I mean now, and I understand, and I haven't seen it, but I understand that there's been a number of films done on your work, and I mean that's big time. That's really big.
Yeah,
time.
There's been a few documentaries out there, and that led into some acting gigs. I got typecast as a wounded veteran. So they always make me play a wounded veteran. Yeah. Except for one time I got to play Pyro Polly, which I made bombs for the mob, so that was awesome.
Love that. Where's I don't even know. Where's home for you?
I live in Kentucky now. For now.
All right.
when we're home.
Right. We get run out. And,
yeah.
And how long were you in after you were hurt? How long before you were discharged?
So, 6 months inpatient, 3 years total recovery. I was injured in 2007. They finally medically retired me in 2011.
So when do you pick the bike up?
Today.
That's what I thought.
Today at 3:30.
Oh, man.
Ish.
Karen, where's the transfer going to take place?
Karen, place.
We will be having the unveiling at May Farms in Byers, Colorado.
Oh, I know where that is, too.
Yeah. They've been doing this event to benefit Combat Hero Bike Build, and the I-70 Chamber of Commerce handles the poker run, which ends at May Farm, and they've been doing this for us for the last 4 years. This will be our second unveiling for this poker run, which is awesome. We couldn't be more happy. We're going to always do an unveiling out here at May Farms every year from now on.
Bob, how long are you in town for?
We've been here since Thursday because we're also having our first ever recipients rally. So we have 5 previous recipients here we've all been hanging out and doing rides and things like that. And I forgot the question.
No,
and then we all leave on Sunday.
I'm going to see the bike.
It will be, pictures are finally going to be taken. No, I haven't even seen it. This is actually my old Street Glide that has been adapted for Bobby. And I haven't seen it either because I always want to kind of be surprised at the unveilings. Thanks. So there will be pictures posted on our Facebook page, which is The Real Combat Hero Bike Build.
Oh, man.
And on our website, which is all spelled out, combatheroBikeBuild.org.
Do that. Say that one more time, and I'm going to go back to Bob for a moment if I can. So Give the web again.
The website is combatheroBikeBuild.org.
One more time. Let's do that. Third time. So third time's
Okay.
the charm. All right.
All right. combatheroBikeBuild.org.
Now, across the country again, I was reading about you guys last night. You have different builders build different bikes. So are they all Harleys so far?
Mostly, I mean, there have been some Hondas, but mostly, Harley has their reputation.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what we try to get for our recipients.
Does the motor company help you at all?
They have not to this point.
Yeah.
I think Billy was able to get some parts or some things from Outpost Harley-Davidson in Pueblo, which we appreciate. We're such a small group of people. There's probably maybe 10 or 12 of us in the whole country.
Wow.
That try to fundraise and get donors and things like that. So we don't have a brick and mortar building. We all are volunteers, and we just do what we can in the states that we live in. And then we, go out and we have unveilings all over the country.
Yeah.
So we've been averaging now for the past 3 years, 6 bikes a year, which is incredible. So we're really happy for that.
With Bobby, and he talked about he had lost his hand. So what did they do with the Bob? You can jump on too. What did they do transmission-wise? What did they do? Because that's both your hands you need to ride. But how do they pull?
Yeah.
How do they pull that off?
I wish I knew the mechanical explanation for you. He basically will be using, he can use foot controls for shifting and for the rear brake. And then his right hand will handle the front brake, right hand, brake and throttle. So this one was not too terribly difficult. We have a recipient with a right arm amputation, and our builder in Medford, Oregon, designed, created, invented a foot throttle for him.
Wow.
So he uses his right foot for the throttle, and then everything else he can do with his left hand and his left foot. So that was pretty ingenious. Yeah, and he's here today too.
Wow.
So we're excited to have him with us. Yeah.
So Bob, you live in Kentucky, is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Kentucky, South Central.
How are you going to get the bike home? You going to ride home?
No, I got to train these legs. I got to train the bottom to get used to riding again.
Yeah. Did you ride before you were hurt?
Yeah, it's been probably 28 years. I kept waiting for my kids to get older. When they get older, then I'm going to ride again. Oh, yeah, no. What did you ride before everything happened? A Honda Magna back in the 80s.
No, I think there's only two kinds of people that said that they rode Hondas and people that lie.
Right.
I mean, they do. No, I never had yeah, you're lying. You had a Honda. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to start somewhere, right?
No, yeah. So, I mean, when you come out to work, and that's why I want you on, and if you're that far away, we'll do it by phone, but when you come out to work, are people, they hip to who's walking out on that stage, or are you kind of like a Buddy Holly at the Apollo Theater?
It's a little mixture of both. Sometimes they know, depending if I'm the headliner of that show or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of know who's coming out, but a lot of times it's a showcase type thing.
Wow.
And they don't know. And I'll be in Colorado for 3 weeks in September.
Man. Oh man! Well, you got
hanging out, so we can definitely ride.
You got to do the show, and then we got to ride. And will you have the bike here then, or?
I'm trying to figure out how to pull it. I want to pull it behind the RV because my wife won't drive a trailer, so I got to drive everything.
No. Listen, that's how many people go to Sturgis. They tow it up, and then they. And I have a friend who said about Sturgis, he said, I took my trailer to a motorcycle show, which I thought was pretty funny.
There you go.
But so after this horrible event, and then what gave you the push to say, okay, I'm going to start doing stand-up? I mean, I can see motivational speaking, but you're funny, you're funny. So
Everybody at the hospital bugging me, the other veterans, the occupational therapists, like you're funny, you're making us laugh during therapy. Like you need to go try it. So I kept pushing, and then once I tried it the first time, it was good therapy for me. It's just to get stuff out, and it just came naturally from there. I just talking about myself, self-deprecation, making fun of it, and just continue to live my life to the fullest, because that's the best way I can honor the men that died that day, and all that they also the sacrifice. We don't waste our lives; we keep living for them.
I found a couple pages about you, former NCO there's a good line. Former NCO burned an IED blast, lifts himself, others up through stand-up comedy, and it does part of your routine is printed. And do you just let go, or like a lot of comics, or do you have a plan where you're going to take the jokes and when you're going to do it?
Yeah, I have a plan. Jokes I've been working on for years. You try to work them out, rewrite them, and stuff like that. There are moments where you just kind of ad-lib things and work the audience. It's just fun. It's a different art form. It could be harder and more nerve-wracking. But I've been doing it 15 years now, so now I leave a little space for that. And I try to work it in a little bit and bring the audience in. There's some jokes I have pre-written where I know that I'm going to draw somebody in the audience in. I'll sucker them into answering the question or something.
No. Do you ever get heckled?
No one wants to heckle me, because they like the funny guy. They don't want to see the war guy.
Yeah, Remember that guy?
They don't want the army guy coming out.
Yeah, that guy that lives inside. Yeah, don't let him out.
No, don't make me cry. Don't make me cry. I'm thin-skinned.
Ooh, nice line. Nice line. Because I'm looking at your picture. So, you had these great lines. This is, and again, I jumped ahead and I'm out of format here, but I'm so impressed. You're listening to Bobby Henline, and Bobby was terribly injured in Iraq. Also, and she's so talented, Karen White, and I met her at a motorcycle show. And again, I'm thanking the guys at Devil's Head, and they turned me on to Karen. And then I found out about these guys making custom motorcycles for guys that have been badly hurt. And so everybody's on the show. What we ought to do, Bob, is probably wait until September when you're here in town, and then have you on the show, as opposed to the other stuff. But I mean, you got some hilarious lines, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
it took me 3 years to get used to the way I looked and like disabling good looks.
Yeah.
But like anybody else, I get insecure. And I asked my wife the other day, I said, babe, am I still a 10 to you? She says, you'll always be a 10 to me on a toaster setting.
Now, I know you got a bunch of kids. Were you married before you went back in?
Yes. I was married before I went back in. We had 3 kids together. I have 5 total. I have 9 grandchildren. But my wife today, we've been married 3 years. We met afterwards.
Oh, wow. This is so spectacular. I got about a minute till the pause. And so real quick, Karen, you guys will be where and at what time today to offer up the bike?
It will be at May Farms in Byers, Colorado, and it'll be somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock. We don't have a specific time per se, just kind of how things roll during the day.
Well, I'm going to be gone next Saturday. I'm going to be on the Hodge going to Sturgis, but I mean, Bob, you should go to. Have you ever been to Sturgis?
I've been to Sturgis a couple of times with some groups.
Yeah.
But next year will be the first year I get to go with a bike.
Can you guys hang on for a second through a break and come back with us, Bobby? Can you do it? Karen, you can do it. All right, put them on hold if you would, please, and stay here. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. got about 5 more minutes with the guest. It's a Saturday morning, 710 KNUS. The weather says 91 and 83. Highs and lows. We had to switch all the weather around, and tomorrow it's going to be 90 degrees. On the line with us, and we have a few minutes left. I met Karen White at a motorcycle show, and she gave me her card, and she said, I need all the help I can get. And with her is Bobby Henline, who was really remarkable. He was terribly injured in Iraq and does stand-up comedy, and he's a recipient of the Combat Hero Bike Builders, and Karen and her husband have been so important. I'm going to be, anytime you need me, Karen, you call, okay? And whatever I can do, I certainly will help.
I so appreciate that. The organization appreciates that. We don't get a lot of publicity, which I don't understand, but that's the way it goes.
Well, people would just as soon forget. I've learned that a long time ago. And Bob's a reminder. Bob, so we were talking about going to Sturgis, and you I mean, it would be a hoot. I'd ride with you in a heartbeat. That'd be a hell of a lot of fun. And so you're going to miss this year, but perhaps next year.
Perhaps next year. I'm going to talk to a couple of the bars there. I know some of the owners here in other states that own the multiple bars, and see if we can't get a comedy show out there in Sturgis next year. Some veteran comedians. What
a great idea! Because I've been going a lot of years, and I don't remember a comedy show at all ever up there.
Yeah, I did one, a quick promptu one at the Beaver Bar there one year.
I know the Beaver Bar.
Yeah. So I have a place down there in Myrtle Beach where the other Beaver Bar is. So I'll talk to Leslie and see if I can't work something out.
Well, I will definitely see you in September, both of you guys. And Karen, you're a special woman, again, for doing all this. And hey, Bob, thanks.
Without the support of the community, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And I'm always very grateful for the support that we do get. Very important to us.
Well, close as the phone. Bobby, I'm looking forward to meeting you, man, and firing up the bikes, and I can't wait to see the picture of the bike you're getting. So that's
yeah, I'm excited. So if anybody wants to see me, a grown man cry like a baby, come on out today.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, welcome home, Karen. Thank you, Karen. You and I'll talk, and maybe in another week we can have everybody back on the line by phone and talk about the bike. I'd like to do that. So
that'd be awesome.
All right, how about this?
Yeah.
How about this? Because we're almost on a break. I will put you guys on hold. Speak with Adam, and I'll be gone a week and then back, and then we'll have you guys back on by phone to talk about the reaction and the bike, and we'll get pictures. And you guys want to do that? That'd be
great. Yeah, sounds perfect.
Bob, you up for that?
Come back a week.
Yeah, I'll check the schedule, see what's going on.
Okay, well, we can. It's a phone call.
I got to talk to the boss.
I'm here.
Oh yeah,
it's a phone call.
Okay,
it's a phone.
I can do a phone call.
Then we got it. We got it. And if you want to come in, well, you'll all be gone by then. No, you won't.
Yeah.
You'll be. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You'll be with us.
We'll figure it out.
To both of you, thank you so much for doing the radio show. It meant a lot this morning to everybody. Put you on hold. Bob, I'll see you. We'll see you quick. And again, Karen, thank you for putting this all together for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us on. It's been really special.
No, it's my honor when I do get to do.
No, thank you.
Stuff like that. All right, you're both on hold, and I think we go to open lines or whatever's going to happen next. So there's that, and I'll tell you what, that's the stuff, and the bikers come through as they always do. I will be calling Jeff and Bill. I'll be doing some live call-ins from Sturgis. I'm not going. The 100th birthday of KOA is this Thursday, and Stefan and I are going, and Martino, and I'm sure, I mentioned Lee Larson's going to go. We had lunch. Kenny Danon, Daryl Luby, all the old timers. I don't know who all's going to show up, but I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a party. And we got invited back, so that's great. And then early the next morning on a Friday, we're going to make the run and pick up a friend in Torrington, Wyoming, and we start again. Now, coming up, As you know, the Hulk Hogan passed away, and there's so much more to all of that than what Hulk Hogan meant and how he changed everything. And I worked in pro wrestling. I worked for Vern Gagne back in the days before steroids. And actually, Billy Superstar Graham, if you remember that name, was the first guy I knew that they called it the juice or the gas or vitamins, which was interesting because they would talk when Hogan would always say your prayers and take your vitamins. Well, one of the code names for steroids was vitamins. And so Jonathan is like, when I would go to company events, and of course his wife's Deborah, and I would sit with Jonathan. We would talk all about pro wrestling, and I'd say, man, do the show. Come on, do the show. Come on, do the show. And, with her schedule and his schedule, he's going to come in studio. He'll be here, I don't know what time it is. What time is it? He'll be here in about a half an hour. So we have a half an hour of open lines, 303-696-1971, and it is your turn. I'm looking forward to all of this, and some of the friends of mine down at Devil's Head gave parts to the Spike. I can't wait to see it. And if you go online and you see what they've adapted motorcycles to be able to do for these guys, it's incredible. I mean, it really, really is incredible. And you want to take a look at them, look at their website. They got all the bikes there. Pro wrestling is, ever since I was a little kid, and when I was on Bobby and, when Jeff and Billy asked me to come on with them during the week, and I said, the most important question you can ever ask is, when you were a little kid, and every great pro wrestler has what's called a finisher, meaning that when, like Hulk Hogan's was a big leg drop. What was your finisher that you put on your brother? And mine was the claw. And who didn't give the claw? I mean, the claw was like the favorite thing for anybody to give. And we grew up with the crusher, and later I got to work with the crusher. But the crusher gave the claw to your stomach. And when I met Baron von Raschke, whose name was Jim Raschke is his real name, he was from Omaha, Nebraska. And he was an AAU champion. And so I do a radio show with him when I first started doing those guys on the air, and he stayed in character. And he didn't break kayfabe. He was Baron von Raschke. That is all the people need to know. That's how he tagged it out on that. So Schmodo, we're sitting there, and I said, well, put the claw on me. He came across, and it was like squeezing a grape. This guy just popped my head. And now when they're working, they don't do that. They're working light, right? But for me, and the guy had hands like catcher's mitts. I mean, the guy had big meat hooks. He slapped it on me, and I came out of the seat. And, he's looking at me like, you want some more? And I'm, no, it's okay. But that was the finisher. And Adam, what was your finisher on your brother? Do you remember what the finisher was?
Oh yeah, figure four leg lock.
Oh, you put the Ric Flair on him.
Oh yeah.
Actually, the Gagnes did that too. But the figure four was like, and the figure four is real. And you watch an MMA when they really lock it on. When you watch the Gracies or somebody get inside, ooh, they're going to break your knee. They're going to snap your knee. And,
a lot of memories watching wrestling and then trying it out on my brother.
Oh, of course. And I had two brothers, and so the three of us. And my father, like a lot of people's father, I think, hated pro wrestling. But there were guys in the neighborhood, their dads loved pro wrestling. My grandma, and of course the local hero for all of us was Bruno Sammartino. And Bruno was real, man. Bruno was from Pittsburgh. And we watched Bruno. It was like, that was real stuff. That wasn't like I know. And what happened, and Jonathan will explain it, was when they finally went into court and on the steroid trials, and Vince had to admit that it was kayfabe, that they were working. They weren't shooting, they were working. That's the difference between a work and a shoot. And McMahon had to cop to it that it was, and he broke kayfabe, that it was planned. And when that was planned, and then it just, but if you look at, and this is one of the things I want to talk to Jonathan about, I can't wait for him to get here. And when those guys, when they went through the steroid trials, and I'm a kid, and I'm working for Vern, and well, why don't we just take some calls? We can tell those stories later. We got time for calls? Okay, it is 9:34. We start with Ron in Englewood. Ron, you're on a radio show Saturday morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you.
What an uplifting show that way.
Oh, that guy, I'm telling you, whoa.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed listening to it. I do have a wrestling story, but I also, I rode a motorcycle, 250 Yamaha from Tijuana down Baja, California in the late 60s, north of Cabo San Lucas. Then we got on a freighter and went across the Gulf of California to Topolobampo, and then rode the bikes up to Mexicali. Ran out of money. And I have pictures of that.
Sure.
On my 250.
Sure.
But when I worked for a company that was in Stamford, Connecticut.
That's the home of it.
Right. And we would stay at that hotel. One night, we were in the bar, about 20 of us, and guess who's sitting at the bar?
Could be anybody.
It was the big guy.
Oh, Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. No one was at the bar, and the waitress would say, "Go sit down. I'll bring you your drink. Do not come here."
Mm-hmm.
She just brought bottles of booze and put them on the coffee table in front of us and said, "We'll settle up later." People would want to go up to him, and nobody knew what his reaction was going to be. And
he drank. He was in pain. That I don't know what that disease is called that he had, but
from the growth.
That's right, and he, according to everybody, and again, Jonathan will talk about it, but he was masking pain, and he could kill it, but you had to leave him alone, leave Andre alone.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, there would be somebody that thinks that or thought that they could badass one of those guys, and that was a really stupid thing to do.
Yes.
Really stupid.
My roommate was a wide receiver from the Dallas Cowboys, tall, big guy. And when I walked in, I started to go towards the bar.
Oh.
He saw me. He grabbed me and threw me over the back of the couch.
Don't do it.
Before I could get near Andre.
Oh, don't do it. I mean.
No, he saved my life.
Oh, they would wait. I mean, every once in a while, when again I was the ring announcer and the timekeeper and that stuff, I did some TV with them, but every once in a while, somebody, and they're usually cooked, would want to get in the ring and roll into the ring.
Oh no!
And I saw it maybe 3 or 4 times, and as soon as they did, both wrestlers would turn on the guy. And it wasn't like just the bad guy would do something. The good guy and the bad guy would work this guy till they got him out of there. And no, that was a really stupid thing to do. And there's all these great stories about people that decided they wanted to take on, Andre's goes without saying, but just tries, somebody else. And
what about a bunch of incredible memories for you about
Oh, they were great.
I mean, good side and bad side, but that's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm anxious to hear what he has to say.
This guy's wonderful. I mean, I've been trying to get him to do a radio show, and he sent me a text when it was announced that Hogan. He actually knew Hogan, worked with Hogan. When I met Hogan, he was still called. What was his real first name? Terry. They still called him Terry.
Terry Below.
Terry Bollea.
Bollea, yeah.
And he was.
Oh, yeah. The other wrestler was Dick the Bruiser.
I worked with Dick the Bruiser.
Did you really?
Richard Alphys was Dick the Bruiser's name, and he told me that they tell you how to introduce him, and I was to introduce him as the man too tough for the NFL, because he had played for the Green Bay Packers.
Wow. Who smashed the beer can against his head? Was that Dick?
They all did. Well, no, it was the Crusher did it too. The Bruiser did it. Yeah, I mean, hey, you can do it. We're back. Hang on. 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for this last weekend of July to be a hot one. We're going to continue to see hot above average temperatures through Monday and most likely Tuesday. Highs today through Monday, mid and upper 90s. Overall sunny and dry. Warm nights as well, low to mid 60s, trending milder and unsettled by Wednesday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Morning, everybody. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station on a Saturday, July 26, 2025. Coming up in studio, Jonathan Flora will be with us. I think it's a marvelous show today, given the opening act that we did with those Karen White and Bobby Henline. Man, that's just the good stuff. While we're waiting, Danny Kaplis' law firm, and Danny suggests, and he's certainly right, you choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you and everybody involved in the case. And we talked about Dan's dad was a Chicago cop, and talked about his mom and growing up, and believed to be the only attorney in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law partner of the Denver Nuggets, Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. I've told the story many times about family was going through some things, and we needed to listen to legal advice. We needed that man, and I worked with Danny, knew Danny, trusted Danny, and went to his wedding, and I'd seen so many things, and I said, all right, I'm calling Kaplis. And it was the smartest thing. So if you're tied up, come on. By the way, Jonathan is here if you want to send somebody down to get him. So Danny accepts just all these righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis. If you need help, call Dan at 303-770. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551, or hit dankapleslaw.com. It's CAPLISlaw.com. Do we have a name on that caller, or are we going to, nothing, settle back? Well, anyhow, so Jonathan's here, and we'll start that. It is interesting, as a geek history guy and loving pro wrestling, it goes back into what was called morality plays. And morality plays were in the 15th, 14th, 13th century in Europe, and they traveled, and it was angels and demons. It was the same thing as we have today, baby faces and heels. And the angels and demons were engaged in a struggle to persuade generally a young man, a human character, towards either good or evil. And the common story of these plays follows the temptation and the fall and redemption. And it's age old. It's Shakespearean, it's Old Testament, it's Greek tragedy. And so they would do these plays, and these plays would travel. And they were in Germany and France, and they were called morality plays. And that's pro wrestling. It's good versus evil, and there are people that have copies of French medieval morality play traditions that were really rich, and they're morality plays. And you visit and read history. Go down 4 or 5 levels in French history, and there they are. They're morality plays, and especially after plagues, they would show up after plagues, but they had the character, and he was like, and Heenan always said that that there was called transference, that when they went to wrestling matches, the bad guy was really your boss. That when you sat there and you had transferred your emotion from your life, everyday life, to your boss. And Heenan always said that the reason that people went to automobile races was to see wrecks. He strongly believed that. And so, but if you go back and you look for the roots of pro wrestling, they're in Christianity and the genre of medieval and early Tudor dramas. The dramas, the term used by scholars is morality plays. And it's text from the 14th through 16th century. I read up on my morality plays last night. But they engaged in this struggle to persuade the protagonist to represent. It's human character, which is the same thing in the wrestling ring, towards good or evil, and the common story, the temptation, the fall, and redemption. The good guy gets beat, the bad guys do what they do, and in the end, the good guy wins, and then you start the program again. Is Jonathan here? Well, there he is. Bring him in. I got to tell you something. I mean, this is like big time for me. You got to get him some headsets, set him down. Huh? He's got notes. I have loved this guy since I went to this meeting, and let's turn on his microphone for him. So I go to this. It was a radio station get together. There, boom. Now your mic's hot. And he's of course married to the lovely Deborah, and she was on air gigging here. And I went to, I don't know what party it was, Christmas or I don't know, something, or a get-together, and so this guy's there. So thank you.
Man, it's so good to see you.
Oh, so wonderful to see you. So I don't know if it was your wife told me or somebody told me that you had worked for Vince. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, your life in pro wrestling. I mean, were you with Disney first?
That's a loaded question before we go to break, huh?
Yeah.
I can't do it in
now
2
we
minutes.
break.
Well, it all began as a poor white child.
That's right.
It was, it was a turn of life that I never thought I was going to do. Disney came years later, but believe it or not, it was some of the skill sets that I learned at the WWF that I took to Disney by getting behind the camera and starting to shoot promotional items in program content, Ultimate Warrior holding up a Mountain Dew cooler, all kinds of fun things.
I learned talk radio from those guys.
Well, you talk about guys that can turn it on and turn it off, and they don't usually get a take two. They throw it out there and it sticks.
It sticks. Were you involved in interviews and doing that stuff?
Well, I was during some of the early WrestleManias and then the pay-per-view events we had.
Okay.
I started doing, this is when the call-in lines were getting good.
You bet.
And it was one more way to get a few more pennies from, the viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would do the quick little intro and then hand the mic to, hold the mic in front of Hulk or Macho Man, and they'd do their 1 minute spiel. Yep. Then I would do the rap, and we would do those. So that's about the closest I ever came to interviews. I was a director of marketing with them. And also with a lot of, content for product.
Did they ever ask you to be part of booking? You're
no,
smiling. You never booked.
No. But I had a very interesting relationship with the boys, because when I first got the gig there, they said, whatever you do, don't try to be one of the boys, which are the wrestlers, and because they do not trust the suits, which were us. Right. But at that time, I worked out quite a bit. I was like 6'2",
you're a big guy.
A better built 230. Yeah. But next to these guys, I was a shrimp. Oh. But when we would go on the road, I would be training in the same Gold's Gym as them, and I started creating that bond that I was able to kind of really walk two worlds because I earned their respect. I
said that when they said to me the first time, you think you can do the ring? And I told the story 1,000 times, and I did the ring, and they still hadn't. They call it smartening you up.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been smartened up. And then the next time I did the ring, I saw the ref slip the blade.
Oh yeah.
The ref takes out the blade. The referee. Mm-hmm. And he slides the blade on top of the canvas while they're down on the ground. And I said, the ref's in on it.
Well, you remind me of a fun Johnny Carson episode where Hulk had come on shortly after Rocky III, Thunderlips. And Johnny's just sitting there looking. I mean, the scale is like this, but Johnny's sitting next to Hulk. And Johnny says, you're big. He goes, I wish I had anything on me that was that big.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
did Johnny ask him, he goes, so is professional wrestling fixed, or is that a bad question? Hulk just looks at him and says, that's a bad question.
Very bad.
And Johnny's like, okay.
Was it Richard Belzer he dropped?
I don't remember Hulk doing. I know somebody else got jack slapped in the hallway.
Well, that was come on. He's a bounty hunter now. I think he might have passed away, but yeah, slapped, what's his face? Oh, yeah.
Ruptured his eardrum.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting to do this show for 3 years. Jonathan's here, 710 KNUS on a Saturday morning. I'm Peter Boyles. Hang on. And good morning again, everyone. 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station. This is just a show I've wanted to do for years and years and years. It's Saturday morning, July 26th, 2025. It's going to be hot. 91 will be the high. And again, 95 on Saturday. On Sunday. I won't be here next Saturday. I'll be in Sturgis. I'll be doing some cut-ins with Billy and Jeff from Sturgis, but then I'll be back the following week. This week, Hulk Hogan passed away, and I got a note, and this is a guy who I just think hung the moon, and you all know his wife, Deborah, but this is Jonathan Flora. And I was mentioning this and should do it again, but when Deborah first showed up on the scene here at the radio station, and then they would throw these get-togethers and everything, and I never really wanted to go, but you had to show up, kind of a thing.
I get it.
And then they said, well, and I think your wife said, Jonathan worked in the WWE. Were you WWE, WWF, or both?
Oh no, it was WWF back then.
Okay.
We were going on with that battle with the World Wildlife Foundation. Like anybody would ever confuse Hulk Hogan with a cute little panda bear. But that thing went on the whole time I was there. And shortly after I left, it finally went away, and I went to the website for the WWF, and it said, "Get the F out." So that's the kind of marketing that they did. They immediately turned it into a positive. WWE never looked back, and now people are going, what was the WWF? It's the WWE.
There was a shirt that Billy has, and I've seen, with the two panda bears. And the one panda bear using the steel chair and cracking the other panda bear in the back. And it's like, welcome to the WWE.
That's great.
Was it also that was the steroid scandal, and they had to admit, do I remember any of this correctly? They had to admit that they had planned out the ends or whatever.
No, actually, that was done in advance, because what the WWF had to do is they had to pay the state wrestling and boxing commission, and they had to pay fees for that. And Vince just said, I'm tired of throwing money away. So that's where the term sports entertainment came up. Okay. And so they went in that they were men in mock combat with a predetermined outcome, which they tried to pin it on. But Jimmy Hart was always the voice of reason. Because some people said this will be the death nail, you'll never recover. And other people go, see, I told you so. Jimmy Hart said, if you're a believer, it doesn't matter.
There you go.
If you're a non-believer, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And so he ended up getting everything deregulated. People made noise about it for about a day and went away, and they never missed a beat.
See, I was a kid. We'll talk about marking, but growing up in Pittsburgh, we were marks. I mean, marked big. Well, you were a mark as a kid, too.
Well, I was. And for folks that don't know what that is, that means you're just a groupie. You just can't get enough of wrestling, or in my phrase in Southern Ohio, is wrestling.
Sure.
And my grandmother and my grandfather, especially my grandmother, after she had a stroke, she was bedridden for about 6 years, and she would watch TV ministry and wrestling.
What's the difference?
Those were her two worlds.
Not much different.
And I remember one time watching, and of course I grew up with Haystack Calhoun,
sure.
And I heard y'all talking about Bruno, and who didn't want to be Bruno without the rug skin, because the guy was a hairy man.
Who's Bruno?
But, it was just, that's how we grew up with that. But I remember one time, as I was getting into high school, I'm like, okay, it's fake, yada, yada, whatever. And my grandfather looked over, and in his eyes, he was dead serious. He goes, they've got to get 2 referees in the ring, because these men are just too big and too fast, and one ref can't see everything. I'm like, you're right. You're right, Papa.
Yeah, the only guy in the auditorium that can't see is the ref.
Exactly.
We would, I got to do a little bit of travel. I was never on your level, but there were so many stories. Casper, Wyoming, for me was when I really learned what was going on, and they didn't have enough. There wasn't enough cops, or there wasn't any. I forget, they had a couple of cops. They had no guards around the sides of the ring at all, and it was the heels won, and my job was to get all the stuff and try and get out of there. And I had a couple times I couldn't get the mic loose.
Of course.
God.
Well, and I imagine the scene that you worked and what we grew up on, it was a ring and it was 2 rows of bleachers on opposite corners and the opposite camera.
Yep.
And that was it. And it was locals. And to think that that's what I was raised on, and then went to where we're filling out Madison Square Garden, Silverdome. I was very involved in Toronto with Skydome, where 60,000 people. You know, the one in Silverdome, that was 93,173.
That was the
That's
record.
crazy.
Yeah, that was the record.
Yeah, it reminds me of a comment where you see this tiny little ring way down there, and you're talking to the guy in the top row, and they go, by the time we find out what happened, it's a rumor. Because it was so far away.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
I would, because it was Vernon was the old AWA, and we would shoot TV here, and I was doing radio and doing some TV stuff, and so we would shoot all the different stuff for this strand, and we did Casper, Cheyenne, Denver, the Springs, Pueblo, and Albuquerque, and then I'd come back. So we would do because there's no cable, there's no internet, so you don't know the outcome. And I remember we were doing with the Crusher, the Fabulous Crusher, and so I would be standing there, and they had a box that Crusher stepped up on the box because he was wide and tough, but he wasn't really a big guy, and he would grab the mic out of my hand and go, the streets are going to run red with blood in Casper, Wyoming on Wednesday night. Okay, take. Grab the mic. The streets are going to run red with blood in Cheyenne. And we did. It was all, and it was the best. I mean, I just loved being around.
No, it was great, and that pattern of marketing did not change, because the way that the pattern was for when I was there. They would be on the road for 3 weeks, and they would be in different groups in different parts of the country, and they're just hopping town to town to town. Then every 3 or 4 weeks, we'd all get together in 2 adjacent cities like Cleveland and Columbus or something like that, and that's where we would do all the TV tapings that would be on TV for the next 3 weeks. Yep. Those are what I would go to, because that's when I would then get promotional material, bites, visuals, things like that. So what we would always say is the WWF is global in scope, but it's local in impact.
Wow.
So it didn't happen until it happened in Detroit. Then it didn't happen until it happened in Pontiac. Then it didn't happen. So that guy giving the same bite over and over, just changing the date and the place, we did the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't know. I mean, now it's all on phone, so that kind of went away. But you wouldn't know what happened the night before in a different city because you had a ticket for tonight in wherever you live.
And it was
then it didn't happen until it happened on TV. Then the world knew.
Yep. And they would, I'd get there and they'd say, okay, we're dropping the strap tonight. There's a title change. And then we do a title change, and then you do it's the same. And the guys in Cheyenne didn't know in Casper that they had dropped the tag team straps.
Yeah, you can lose the belt 12 times in a week.
And then get it back in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. The egg dome.
And the egg dome in Japan. And the shooters came out of the egg dome.
And, this was a life I never thought I would be
Did you love it?
I really did. And here's how it happened. I was with the Dodgers at the time and working in their public relations. I was in Vero Beach during spring training. My last day with the Dodgers is 1988, when that's the season Kirk Gibson came off the table and hit the home run and the Dodgers won the World Series. So I could have been flashing a big World Series ring if I'd have just waited one more year. But I get this call from a guy. I had my master's degree from Ohio University.
Wow.
Sports administration, very tight network. So when people are looking for new employees, they search their directory, and this guy calls me, Basil DeVito, and says, I've heard about you, this and that. Do you want to come check out the WWF? And I'm like, seriously? My goal is to get to the NFL. And he goes, have you ever been to New York? And I said, no. He goes, well, come out on us. Meet Thursday, Friday. You can fly back Sunday, party in the city for a weekend.
I'm your guy.
I'm no fool.
I know.
So I'm expecting retired wrestlers, flannel shirts, bellies hanging out shirts, stogie cigars. Everybody's three-piece suits, no facial hair, sharp as can be. And I was just blown away. And the line that Basil said, he goes, how many games are you responsible for marketing in baseball? 81 plus playoffs. And he goes, we do 1,000 events around the globe. We're the home team everywhere we go. You want experience, this is it. Wow. So I go, well, I actually would like now to submit my name officially. He goes, oh, no, we're offering you the job. And I go, well, I'll get back to you. You know, Monday morning I called and go, I'm in. The harder call was calling my dad.
And telling him.
Because now, Dad, I'm going to the WWF. He goes, what? I go, I'm going to the WWF. He goes, oh my. Because he'd known I'd completely been turned off by it. Those 6.5 years, that's where I learned to market. That's where I went to marketing school.
Absolutely.
I developed production skills that I later turned into Disney, which I never thought I'd be working at Walt Disney Studios. But it was a really fun, interesting life.
They really got it.
Yeah.
I mean, they really understood it. I told the story. Bobby Heenan was the guy that
Bobby the Brain.
He took care of me, and for whatever reason, always steered me. And we're shooting promos at the old Channel 2, the bunker down there. And there was a guy called Harry Vallis, and he had color time TV, and he rented TVs and stereos and furniture. And so Heenan's watching, and I'm thinking renting furniture, but of course, so we do the promo, and Bobby says, all you, what they call them 9-to-5 lifers, or some put down, you're sitting at home right now on that rented furniture. I mean, he had picked it up that quick. He was that
They
fast.
were good.
Oh.
Well, because I was in radio before that as a sports broadcaster, which is how I met Marty Brenneman, which I cannot wait till we do this and talk about Macho Man at Riverfront. What a scene.
Can you tell
that
tell that story?
Well, that happened in 1989, and the Reds, they stunk. They were Marge Schott owned them, and she was an embarrassing owner. The players would say it, and people had to go pick up the Shotsies off the field because of those giant St. Bernard dogs.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had Joe Nuxall. I mean, again, I've been friends with Marty for years. Joe Nuxall was always a huge WWF fan, and we were in town. So we were able to arrange it, having Macho Man come in early. So we brought him up to the radio booth, and they just went nuts. And they were so excited. And they piped the broadcast down into the dugouts. So once Macho Man, and he was in the farm system for a while.
Yeah, he's a catcher.
And so once he started talking, Eric Davis comes out and does a double bicep post. Nobody's paying attention to the game anymore because Macho Man, they're all trying to look up at the booth, and he's got his glitter cowboy hat and vest. And again, we could just go on and on about Macho Man. And Marge blew a gasket. Sends her nephew up, Steve Schott, who was the VP of something. Yeah. He comes up huffing and puffing, bursts into the booth, and demands that Marty take Macho Man off the air.
No.
Marty gets up. We go into the hall. I mean, they went into the hallway, and I'm following. Yeah. And this poor guy stomping us, and Marty just laid into him. This is the most excitement we've had here in 2.5 years. Don't you ever come in here and tell me what to do in my booth again. They had a little sit down the next day. Marty walked out. He won.
Cleaned it up.
But it was, and it made the newspapers everywhere. That was heat you couldn't have purchased.
I never worked around him, so I never worked for him. What was he like? I mean, I've read so many stories, I've seen. We talked about that story, the series, Mr. McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was great.
It was good.
It was good? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm drawing a blank. Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
Who played Brother
Love.
Brother Love.
Yeah.
Thank you. He was in there, and they talk about they bring him back toward the end of the season, and so he had already seen some episodes, and he was not happy with it. But when you look at it, there was a lot of that there, and a lot of it in that series takes place after I left. But there were things going on that, behind the scenes, power begats power. Vince had taken WWF with the help of Hulk. I mean, Hulk carried that on his shoulders. He took wrestling to an entirely different level.
Yes, he did.
Because as you know, it was all regional. They all had gentleman agreements.
Yep.
When our stars got saturated, we'd swap our stars, and so now you got new heat and coming up where it is. And with the with cable coming on, and then eventually pay-per-view, Vince is like, you know what? I'm going to buy up the talent.
He saw it,
and he brought it. He was ahead of the curve.
Yeah, he saw it.
Just like the buggy makers were not happy when the auto industry came around. Vince took it to the next level.
He saw it. I mean, you have
and he took it. It got to the point where the top 10 pay-per-view events, 7 or 6 would be WWF, and the other 4 or 5 was a Mike Tyson fight. That's how much it was dominated by just 2 parties for a while.
And the guy that really gave me a break and brought me in was Vern Gagne, but Vern didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was back doing well on radio, and I pulled away, but Vern did not see it. And you look back and read the text or read the histories. They hated Vince.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hated him.
Well, because even if you did see it coming, you didn't do it. That was the second part.
Good.
And Vince saw it and did it.
Man, because...
And everybody's been chasing him ever since, and then obviously Turner got involved, and that created a better product. Nothing works in capitalism better than competition.
Agreed.
You get a better product.
Yeah.
And because when I was there, it was the finishing of what they called the golden era.
Yep.
And then kind of into the next generation. You alluded to the steroid thing. That was brought on because of the World Bodybuilding Federation that they launched and lasted about 2 years. And it was that doctor in Philadelphia that destroyed the WBF because can't have bodybuilders without steroids.
The juice.
And then you've got people like Hulk and Ultimate Warrior, and we saw them physically get smaller.
Jonathan Flora is here, and I just adore this guy, and I've wanted him to do the show for so long, and worked for Vince, worked in the WWF or WWE, and the first time I saw anybody do steroids, although I later find out that a lot of the NFL players are doing steroids and all kinds of people, but superstar Billy Graham, and whose name was Wayne, and I can't think of his last name, but they called him Wayne. He went to Japan, went to, I think, New Japan, or worked for Inoki or did something, and he was gone, and he was an attraction. They brought him in, and he came back from Japan, and he was, really had big arms, but he had all the zits on his forehead, and and Bobby Heenan said to me, "Don't leave him alone. Don't say, hey, how are you?" Because he was a roid rager.
Yeah.
And so just stay away from him, and I did, and then more and more and more and more guys are shooting the juice, and it killed them. I think.
Well, and I wondered if we were, I know we'll get into that at some point, but the list of the guys that have died in their 50s and from heart attacks.
Yeah.
And we know that's what it is. And these guys, like I said, I was 6'2", 230. I was a postage stamp next to these guys. They're 6'7", they're 300 pounds, doing things gymnasts do.
Yeah. Their
bodies are beat up. So not only, not only did they need it for their size, they need it for recovery and healing.
Yep. And those guys, they called it vitamins. And I remember them doing takeoffs behind Hogan's back, saying, because he would say, say your prayers and take your vitamins.
Yeah.
Well, they called them vitamins.
Yeah.
They called the juice vitamins. Yeah. I heard music. I got to turn it around. This is just an absolute dream come true. Jonathan Flora is here. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. I'm off next week, and I'll be back Saturday morning. We'll get the calls in here pretty soon. Stay here, 710 KNUS. This may be my favorite all-time show. 710 KNUS, Denver Stock Station, on a Saturday morning, July the 26th, 2025. It's going to be really hot today, hot tomorrow, and it's all predicated on the loss of Hulk Hogan, but it is incredible. With us is Jonathan Flora. Let me tell you real quick about our friends at Water Pros. Water Pros cares about the quality of your water. You can remove the forever chemicals, microplastics, and hard water with Water Pros. Now, they give you a gimme. It's a free one. Come to the house, test your water. The whole water softener and a point of reverse osmosis drinking water systems fully installed. But take them up on this. Start the process. Go to waterpros.net and sign up for your free in-home consultation. They come to your home, they test your water, and they answer all of your questions and concerns about your water. I trusted these guys with our water. They did a system. You will too. Water Pros, family-owned, veteran-owned business, dedicated to providing you with the best in water treatment for less than the other guys. So take the gimme. Go to waterpros.net today and request your free water test, or even better yet, call them. 303-862-5554. It's a free test of your water. What's in the chemicals, or are there chemicals in your water at home? 303-862-5554. 303-862-5554. Ask for the Peter Boyles special today. In studio, as I mentioned, Jonathan Flora, and we were talking about the first time I met Jonathan was with some holiday party or something at the radio station, and your wife was really brilliant, and then I met you, and I sat there. We just talked all night.
We did.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a party going on.
No,
we just sat at the table. We didn't move for hours.
And just when you started telling these stories, and I went, "Oh my God!" I was doing a radio show, and I always loved professional wrestling, and the local promoter was a guy named Gene Reed, and I called Gene and said, "Can you get me a wrestler?" And they were spooked on doing interviews. They didn't want to come. I mean, if they could control the environment, they were perfect. Right. And so Vern Gagne came, and I totally marked out for Vern. And I said, and the next guy he sent was Larry the Axe Henning, and I got a picture of me and the Axe, and then his kid was Mr. Perfect, and then he okayed it, and then pretty soon in the door comes Heenan. And that was the end of it. It was like it all turned right there. And then about, I think maybe 4 or 5 weeks later, they said, "Would you like to do the ring?" I went, would I? And how much do I have to pay you?
I was going to say you'd pay to do it,
yeah,
right?
to do the ring. And I did the ring, and it was, and I remember we had an Electro Voice microphone that was, they had a red piece of wood and had a ring bell on it and a little chain and a hammer, and I sat in the right corner with some officials, right? I don't know. And that's when, before they had the earpieces, and we had to be out of there, I think, by 10:30, or they had to pay more money. And so my job was to time it, and I would, and the folks that are listening that remember, and I would get the microphone and go, "There are 15 minutes left in the match, 15 minutes," because they're timing what they're going to do. And then I'd hear somebody say, "Let's go home." And they were going to end the match. And so then everything is great. And then the final match of the evening was Nick Bockwinkel, and I forget, God, who else? Ray Stevens, Heenan, and against the Gagnes, who were the faces. And it was a screw job ending, and the heels win. And the cops would protect the heels, and the faces didn't really need a lot of protection to get to the locker room. Well, Schmodo, I'm in there, and I'm trying to get the mic. It was an Electro Voice. I remember the microphone. And I couldn't get it out of the socket, so I finally get it out, and I had to pick up the ring bell and everything that was with it, and I turn around, and there's no cops. There's nobody. And I had to get to the locker room. And I thought, I'm going through the crowd, and I'm thinking, boy, their pipes must be broken.
Because they're throwing stuff, beer and everything.
I hope it was just beer.
Well, if it was a screw job, they're thinking you're responsible. You're part of it because they're unhappy. They thought their baby faces are good guys, heels are bad guys.
Explain a screw job.
Somebody interferes or
ref didn't see it.
The ref didn't see it. Like you said, everybody has eyes except for the referee. And usually it's a good guy or baby that loses because if a bad guy wins, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it sets up the next time.
Exactly. Well, that's how Vince would even do it. He would start with WrestleMania. What does he want? How does he want it to culminate? And then he'll work the calendar backwards. And that's where he would develop all the storylines that would then lead to the big culmination of WrestleMania.
We would always, when I would get there, and there'd be a big, like a steak truck, and there'd be a cage in it, the size of a cage, and I knew what we were going to do. We're going in a cage tonight.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Oh.
And when I was there too, because you're talking about some of these legends, I got to obviously work with all the current boys. And then I worked with Pat Patterson, Freddie Blassie, Bobby the Brain,
King of Men,
who was still doing the managing, and he'd get in the ring once in a while, especially when he was with Andre. And I heard your call in earlier too, talking about Andre the Giant. Boy, what a specimen he was.
Did you like him?
He was a very interesting character, but the answer is yes. So even though Vince McMahon owns the company, everybody referred to Andre as the boss.
Yeah.
And so I'd seen him at events, and I'm in, back in the locker rooms or the green rooms, wherever they are. Because now we're getting into stadiums, so it's not like you're all packed into this little place. Massive. I remember reading a Sports Illustrated article about him called "A Giant Among Us."
I remember it.
And it was a life-size picture of him holding a Molson beer can. It'd be like you or me holding a V8 can.
Yep.
And I heard your caller referring to it. And so we were in Boston. Tim White, who was one of the referees, he was also the boss's right-hand guy. He took care of everything for him on the road. And think about a guy this big. Things you and I take for granted, he can't do.
He said he always wanted to drive a Ferrari. That was one of the things he said.
It would be a custom-made Ferrari. That'd have 2 zip codes.
Couldn't do it. Yeah, couldn't do it.
So he goes, "Hey, the boss wants you to come join him for drinks tonight." I'm like, "Whoa, that's a thing."
Yeah.
I don't even know why I did it or why he wanted me to. But all the other guys would stay at a certain hotel. And like you said, it's open bar. And then you got these idiots that want to come up and go, "I smacked Brutus Beefcake. Look I got the black eye to show it. And then I want to do a lawsuit." But the boss, he would always stay somewhere else. So I go into the restaurant, and it was literally they had a rope around the bar at a certain section, and people were just standing there gawking like they were at a zoo. And that's how they kept Andre away. So it was Andre, myself, Tim, and there was somebody else there. And we're there all night, and he's just buying drinks, and he's just sharing stories. And he's got that thick French accent, and it was just one of those nights I remember. And now we're starting to get pretty sauced. So last call comes, and he looks around, and he goes 2, 2, 2, 10.
10.
And you're right, he was self-medicating because he was going through terrible back. And he lived much longer than people thought he was going to live. And it was probably his athleticism and this kind of lifestyle to a degree of just being active that I'm just guessing that probably prolonged his life for a bit.
When you see the films of him as a young man in France, he's doing all kinds of stuff.
The Houston Oilers tried to get him to play football.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that from the article. Wow. To basically be a defensive lineman and be immovable.
Always.
That, put him in the goal line and just take up space. That would have been it. But he was making more money than he probably would. And it's a controlled situation, too, so a lot less chance of getting hurt.
I was around him twice, and they called him an attraction because Vince knew, or maybe Vince's dad knew, that you couldn't make him the champion of the world because. And so he farmed him out to like Mid-South or AW, and that's where I met him. And he was one night, he was in Denver and sold the joint out.
Oh, I'm sure.
And when he would walk to the ring, and he would step over the top
rope. Well, when you're 7 foot, 500 pounds, and that night, and then what happened after finally the last call, we had to leave. We go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times. He never moves. And then the night's over, and he stood up, and he just kept going and going and going. And then he shook hand, and I remembered that article when I shook his hand.
Disappeared.
I got fairly big hands, but the tip of my finger and my thumb barely came to his palm. Where they said a silver ring could go, or a silver dollar could go through his ring.
Yeah.
That was him. But every time after, I mean, I never did it again. I just got invited that one time. But every time after that on the road, he gives you the, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And so if you got acknowledged, you got, because he was quiet, kept to himself. Like I said, he was hurting most of the time.
Well, that's what I
But
don't
what a novel life he had.
To be that guy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed that night was women lined up on Andre.
I was debating whether to say anything or
No,
not.
we can say
No, there are people that want to say I was with Andre.
Yep. The guys, I got to be cautious here too, but they called them ring rats.
Yeah.
And I think everything has groupies. Every motorcycling, the dirt riders. There was a guy, and I went to see him race. His name was Arnie Kling, and he was Norwegian or Scandinavian or something. And he looked like me, and he had the greatest looking women I've ever seen with him. And I thought, be world champion at anything. And then the ring rats would, and all of those guys had friends when you came to
every
town.
sport, every group has it.
Annies and baseball, buckle bunnies and rodeo. There was all they had names for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they would say when they would say, "Well, we're going to Casper." Well, how are the rats? Well, one of the things they would actually say it to you. What were the women like?
Yeah.
Because they were it's part of the game.
And fans for the WWF, I mean, it's again, we grew up where it's like Deliverance, in the stands. Then it got to where it was everybody.
Sophisticated.
And when we were there, we were because of pay-per-view, we were now going to PepsiCo and Domino's. I mean, major sponsors.
Yep.
And, of course, the guy in the suit, we go meet with them. They go, I don't watch this stuff, but it's on TV all over the place, whatever. And then as the conversation goes on, he goes, you still got that guy with the snake? We're like, wait, I thought you never watched it. He goes, well, I can't help it. It's on TV everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got these closet fans, so especially at the Garden, you would have people that we had more change in our front pocket and they got teeth sitting right next to a Wall Street guy. You had everybody, and that was the beauty of it. And what made it so easy for us to sell, especially at Mike Tyson, we go, what, you're going to pay $1,500 or $50 for pay-per-view? You might get around. You're going to get 3 hours guaranteed of non-stop, over-the-top ring excitement.
And they were good.
They were good.
Yeah.
It was, I've been to NBA games and NCAA tournaments. I've never felt the electricity that's in a sold-out stadium at a major event like this.
Oh, man. I got to look at our timer. And the main event was for that night, and you always led up to the main event, and I'd get in the ring. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Now, by this time, they're drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And they started at 7 o'clock, probably started doing warm-ups, and now they're baked. And it's 9:30. And there's the Crusher and my brother, the Bruiser. He brought Dick the Bruiser in, and I'd heard all those Dick the Bruiser stories, but I'd never met the Bruiser. And he said how to introduce him. And he wanted introduced as the man too tough for the NFL.
Yeah.
That was his.
Because he played, right? He played for the
Green Bay.
Packers.
Well,
okay. Once Ernie Catlett, I think, played for the Jets for a while. Or
Wahoo McDaniel played
for
here.
the Dolphins.
Wahoo
Here? Okay,
Wahoo played here.
Some of these guys, again, these were athletes.
Oh.
And a lot of them were top collegiate wrestlers.
Yep.
Some of them were generational, like the Von Erichs. And, we talked, DiBiase, his adopted dad, it was like one of the first ones who died of a heart attack in the 60s.
Did you see the Von Erich film?
Yeah, I did. And my finisher was the claw. My finisher was always the claw. I would do that to kids in
We
school.
did the Crusher. The Crusher claw was in his stomach, and we'd give each other. But then I was telling the story about Von Raschke, and he was like maybe the 6th or 7th guy that would come in, And he had actually been an AAU champion. His name was Jim Rashke, and he was from Nebraska. He's from Omaha. So I can't tell you why I did it. I said, well, put the claw on me. You know the answer to that. I came up out of the chair, and he's holding on to me.
It's fun stuff. And these wrestlers, especially someone like Bret Hart, a lot of these guys just like conserve energy.
How good were they?
They were good.
Great.
They were good. And the lifestyle, imagine this is their day-to-day. They do an event that night. They go to their hotel room bar.
Yep.
They get up the next morning, get on a plane, go to the next place, go to the gym. Go to the venue, do the show, go to the hotel.
Do it again.
Get on a plane.
Do it again.
And so when I would work with these guys...
Jonathan, I'm getting told, here comes the music. All right, break time is coming. This is, like I said, we can open the phone lines, 303-696-1971. I'm hogging the guest. Jonathan Flora is with us. I've been waiting for this show for 3 years. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for this last weekend of July to be a hot one. We're going to continue to see hot above average temperatures through Monday and most likely Tuesday. Highs today through Monday, mid and upper 90s. Overall sunny and dry. Warm nights as well, low to mid 60s, trending milder and unsettled by Wednesday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
opening for the Road Warriors, Iron Man. My son's claim to fame is he had dinner with the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. I have the best guest, Jonathan Flora is here. Phone lines, or we can get them open. I'll hog the guest, 303-696-1971. My friend David Ellis, you've heard me talk about taking valuables to David Ellis Jewelers to get a fortune in cash and secure an appraisal from David for all the valuables, everything you have valuable and tucked away in your home. And it's still true. I'll share the other reason to see David Ellis, just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, rare coins, or silver tea sets. You see David for all the most meaningful gift-giving occasions. David Ellis Jewelers, just the right items, just the right prices, special people that mean the most. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, a diamond ring. Trusted jeweler's been buying precious metals and antiques here in Colorado for decades. He is there as we speak. He's there 6 days a week. Visit David Ellis, E-L-L-I-S Jewelers. See for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. Explore davidellisjewelry.com or call my friend David Ellis at 303-322-8779, 303-322-8779. Or just park and walk in. Show them what you have. David Ellis Jewelers, or see for yourself, and tell David Peter Boyles sent you. It was announced that Hulk Hogan had died, and it brings up all the stories about professional wrestling, and I love this guy. Jonathan Flora is here, and he worked in the business, and he worked closer, way closer, to the inside track. And explain a booker, who a booker is. The booker was the guy who told the stories, how the storyline went, and
that was done in conjunction with real quick, great intro music. Not only Road Warriors, but
Ozzy.
Losing Ozzy this week also. I got to work with Ozzy a little bit because of the Osbournes.
I met him.
We had that, so we did a couple, promo shoots with him. And
what did you think of him?
What you saw on air was kind of how he was, but he was a very generous, kind guy.
Same thing.
He and Sharon was great. It's showbiz, So you got the on-camera and you got the off-camera versions of them. He was great.
Barry Fay brings the Oz Fest to Denver, and it was the height of the Ramseys, and I was sort of the point on the Ramsey case, and so I took Billy, my old producer, and his little brother. My kids were young. We all went to the Oz Fest. It was backstage, and the first person Fay came to me and said wants to talk to you was Marilyn Manson, and he said he wants to talk. And I sat with him, Jonathan. I sat with him for an hour and a half. Was way smart. I mean,
they know what they're doing.
He was a pro wrestler. I mean, I didn't know about all this other stuff that was going on in his life, but he was. And his father was a minister. He told me that. And so then we go out and we watch his open. If they pull the curtain back, he's crucified. I mean, I thought that was a get off. And so he said, well, Ozzy wants to see you. Ozzy wants to know about the same thing. And we went back to where the Broncos dressed, and he was on a Stairmaster, and he was watching National Geographic on the Stairmaster. He was warming up. He would Sharon did everything, and then he'd fly into town and do the show. And he looked like my Irish grandma. I mean, that's what he looked like. He was smart.
Yeah.
He wasn't a fool.
Well, they get marketing, and you kind of mentioned this earlier with the wrestlers. The boys knew they were in a very unique situation. And in my radio days, I covered the Bengals, the Reds,
the Straits,
Ohio University. Yeah. And how these guys would act, I was like, I got to do another interview.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of the pro athletes can be. Not all of them. Some are great. Wrestlers know that everything they do is determined on the kind of heat that they generate. So they're always on. So
Explain the heat.
Heat means what kind of reaction are you getting from the crowd?
Yeah.
So if you're a bad guy, if you're a heel and nobody's booing, you're not resonating. If you're a baby face and nobody's cheering for you, you're not resonating. And that determines that, getting to your booking question too, That determines where you're going to be placed in the card. That determines who you're going to be matching up with. If you've got a storyline role that ever leads to WrestleMania or not, or if you just kind of go away. Also determines your pay.
Yes.
You know, so the more you get, the more superstar action figures you get, the more T-shirts you get. You know, it just goes on and on. And Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon used to do majority of the booking. They would do the storylines.
Tell the story.
And then, of course, things happen if somebody gets hurt. Because, again, these wrestlers, they knew they were in a very unique situation. So whenever I asked them to do something, and again because I had earned their trust, they would give me their all. And they would give their all anyway when the camera's on, because they know their future depends on that. But you talk about dropping the strap, or if I know for the next 9 weeks you're going to beat me, there are some guys that do not like each other.
Like it.
And Peter, we're going to wrestle for the next 9 nights. You're going to win every one, but you're going to know you're in the ring with me. I'm going to land a few because of what you said off camera in the hall.
Working stiff.
Some of these guys.
Didn't they call it working stiff?
Yeah, working stiff, and then the jobbers.
Yeah.
We can help the audience.
Yeah.
Jobbers are when fairly big stars will wrestle somebody locally. It's not a big deal, but they can say they were jabroni.
Yeah.
They can say we're in the ring.
Yep.
We appeared on the card.
Yep.
We crushed this guy in 15 seconds, and we're done for the night.
We're done.
That's kind of their off night if they get to have a jobber. And some of these jobbers end up going something like Brian Pillman. You remember Brian Pillman?
Of course.
I used to cover the Bengals, and I remember he came out of Miami of Ohio, and he was on special teams with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I remember one time he ran down on a kickoff, and he crushed this guy. He comes off, he bent his face mask and broke 2 screws away from his helmet. That's how hard he hit.
Oof.
And then years later,
There he is.
Flying Brian Pillman.
Oh man, we were in Cheyenne, and Dusty Rhodes was booking for and Jack Lanza. And Jack Lanza was really helpful. He was the guy who hit me pretty much about a lot of stuff. But Dusty, and we were on the clock, and I can't really, but he said, "What time is it, babies?" You know, and I think it was like 20 to 10. He said, "Okay." He said, "Now we're going to bleed and go home."
Yes, exactly.
They're going to go to the blade. We had to beat the clock, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
You know, they call it gigging, or there's different terms, but
They called it juicing a little bit too.
bringing the juice.
Before that,
Getting color. I've heard getting color. You know, but
And that used to be prominent. And then Vince actually got away from that. The more he got into going for kids, even though their storylines would get pretty risque.
it was AIDS too.
He got away from cutting for quite a while.
And
then,
it was AIDS. They quit. They
Yeah,
quit
absolutely.
cutting. But I would. God, I'm sorry.
No, like I said, the way they would talk, we were saying they conserve energy, because when they're on, they're giving, especially Ultimate Warrior. I mean, by the time he got to the ring, he was blown. That's why his matches were like 5 minutes.
Yeah, the anabolic warrior.
that could
That's
be
what
true.
they called him.
Yep. And so when you see these guys, like Hulk, he would come in and he goes, "How you doing, brother?
Yeah.
What are we doing today?"
Yep.
You know, they move slow, they talk slow, light goes on, boom. It's Hulkamania, it's Macho Man, Macho Madness, you know, it's over. And Hulk would have the same, even when he said something that he knew it wasn't great, he would just kind of look over at you, and he's got this twinkle and a mischievous smile, and he goes, "One more time." "I'm good if you're good." He goes, "One more time."
One more time.
And then because he was a perfectionist.
We did takes, just like radio takes, doing a commercial. We did takes, and I was the guy with the microphone, and they would, rip the microphone out of your hand. That was their favorite. That must have happened 50, 60 times.
Flair was great at that.
I sat with Flair. We got a minute. We got calls in a minute. All right, so we're going to break and come back, and Jonathan's going to stay, and the phones are all lit up. We'll take calls. But Ric Flair was the most amazing guy I think I was ever around in wrestling.
It's been great to see what he's done with the rest of his life. Hulk really turned his life around too.
Was it true?
He got back to real strong faith.
Yeah.
Understanding that they're survivors, that they lived with they were able to live through, and what really is valuable at the end of the day is family and friends.
Because I didn't know if he was shooting or working. I didn't know, because he proclaimed he was born again. I said, "Is that a shoot?"
He got baptized about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago.
Sit still. This is, again, one of a kind Mornings for me, afternoons. Jonathan Flora's here. We've got everyone's calls. Stay here, 710 KNUS. 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station. Good morning on a Saturday, July 26, 2025. I am Peter Boyles, and I get to do this show, and I'm thrilled. Our phone number, we'll go to the phones in just a moment, 303-696-1971. In studio, Jonathan Flora. I've been trying to get Jonathan to do a radio show with me for as long as I've known him. He worked for the WWF, has great stories, and of course now Hogan passes away. One of the questions I wrote down last night on my worksheet is, and we haven't hit it yet, is what did Hulk Hogan mean to you? And I'm saying this to everybody in the audience in general, and he truly had meaning, did he not?
He did, and he was genuine. And, I certainly knew about Hulk Hogan before I came to the WWF. Rocky III, when he comes out as Thunder Lips, my favorite line in the movie is when Rocky says, "Why are they carrying him?" and Mickey says, "They ain't." And that really launched him. And that was a time when Vince was really dealing with getting deregulated from the Boxing and Wrestling Commission. We had to pay money to have people sit in a chair and go, everything's legit.
Yeah.
And crossover, and ended up getting Hulk on Sports Illustrated. The movie took it from there.
But they had to want to put him on the cover, though. It wasn't like, that he was so hot. Remember they were doing rock and wrestling?
Rock and wrestling, yeah.
Oh, man. I mean.
And that's where the sports entertainment, because that's when it crossed the line to the next level.
Yes.
It just went from big market shows to not only national, but now global. And it was Hulk that catapulted that with Vince working together.
Tell how and why what Vince did is he took over, and it used to be territories. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was generational. You had your Florida group, you had your Texas group, you had your Northeast group, you had your kind of Arizona group. Yeah. A lot of these were multi-generational. They were family-owned, like the Von Erichs. If you've ever seen, I think the movie was called The Claw.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. You talk about a devastated family. I mean, that was just one after another. But these wrestlers would all stay in their districts, and the owners of those federations would stay in their districts.
Control pay.
But if I've got a really big star, and we've gone to all the towns, numerous towns, you've got a really big star, and you're in the Northeast, and I'm in Texas. Hey, let's swap our stars for a little bit. I still own him, and you still own your guy. But now we've got this big bad guy coming to Texas for the first time, this big good guy going to the Northeast. Well, as things started growing, you got away from those little network TVs because it was never national. It was like whatever your WXTQ might have been.
About Channel 2.
With the little ring and the two sets of stands on the corner and everybody's grandma and grandpa there. And Vince saw that, cable's coming. I can now get TV in states and areas that I never could before. And he saw the future. He saw cable TV. He saw syndicated networks. He saw the advent of pay-per-view starting to take a stronger form, and he just started buying up stars and bringing them all to him. And then the next big step, and that was a violation of trust, he started going into other territories with WWF matches.
I remember they came to Denver.
That was it.
Yeah. I mean, and they took on the same night that Vern had a show. Vern had the old auditorium arena, and these guys went to McNichols.
Where are you going to go?
Yes. I mean,
one you saw a print ad, one you saw TV spots. And you're going to go to the one with the TV spots.
And he knew.
Yeah.
With everything else that now is being said, but he really is a marketing genius.
Without question. Like I said, when I left the Dodgers, and I had a master's in marketing, already been doing things like that. I really went to marketing school my 6 years with the WWF. It was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
The cross-promoting, the work, and I love this, working with local networks. Like, I'd come in here and work with you on the event that's coming up in a week in Denver or something like that. And we'd bring the boys in and have them do with mostly sound bites, on call-ins. But it was really very, very fun. And again, 3 hours of nonstop electric entertainment. And I found myself many times going, I never thought I'd be doing this, and this is awesome. It's really cool. And Hulk carried that weight of that company and the sport, really, on his shoulders. And he gave us all all the time. He gave his all, as did the other guys. But it was he changed. He changed it all. I mean, talk to somebody that doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is.
I like we've talked. I remember the night that he dropped the Iron Sheik, and that was the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. And somehow Vince had that idea, but they went out and who was the singer, the woman singer that they brought in and did all that stuff with? Who was it, Adam? And Cyndi Lauper.
Oh yeah.
And that was just brilliant.
Oh, they got Muhammad Ali, Mr. T. I mean, the first wrestler. Yeah. How do you play with all those rings? Yeah. Very well.
Yeah, thank you.
You remember how Hulk was discovered?
He was a bass player in a band.
He was a bass player in a band called Ruckus in Florida, and it was the Briscoe brothers.
No,
they went in and Jerry Briscoe, and I forget his brother's name, and
Jack.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. And they're going, who is this guy? Snow white blonde hair, beach dude, 6'7", 280 at the time. And he goes, have you ever wrestled? He was like, no. Well, we got a school to send you to. I think we can do something with you. And he was called Terry the Boulder for a while.
They called him Terry
Terry Bollea, his name. And the rest is history. Literally, he was just discovered.
I think he went to that farm that Vern had.
That was brutal, man. I'd like to see some Navy SEALs go through that and see what they think.
They had that, and then somebody had a monster factory, and there were 3 or 4 wrestling. Killer Kowalski, Ed Killer, and I met the Killer. Well, the Killer was like a superhero in Pittsburgh when I'm a kid growing up, and he allegedly, he stomped Yukon Eric's ear off, that kind of stuff. So he was legendary. My brothers and I mimicked him, and he came to Denver one time, and I said, I grew up on you, and he sat down like you, and he told all the stories about, about traveling and people shooting at him, and stuff like that, and then the other one was when they brought in the midgets. And, and they were all living together someplace in Ohio and drove around in a Cadillac, but they were.
And women wrestlers for a while too, and now look what they've done with the females in
that's
pro
so
wrestling.
Smart,
it's
so
huge.
Smart.
They had Glow for a while, which was kind of whatever.
Yep.
But boy, now WWE is really taking it to the next level for the women as well.
So what happens next? Hogan's gone, and his time. I want to come back to Randy Savage and have you talk about Randy, but. So what happens now? I mean,
well, it's interesting because again, when I was there, it was a transition from the golden era into the new generation, and part of it was because of the steroid scandal with the doctor from Philadelphia. So we lost Hulk, we lost Macho Man. I mean, we lost a lot of our stars, and there's just so much talent out there. I mean, he already had some stars coming up, like the Undertaker had come in, and boy, what a thing.
Is he a good guy?
He's great.
Yeah.
I remember the first show that he was a TV show, was his introduction. And they'd done some smaller ones Because, again, they want to do it in Dayton, Ohio, and see how it reads,
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm standing in line with this guy because, boy, they feed us at these things. You get big buffets. It's great.
And
I'm standing next to this guy, and I barely come to his shoulder,
And you're a big guy.
And I wasn't sure who he was, and we just talked for a little bit. And, again, he didn't know me, so I was a suit at the time. But soon we were chatting and going away. So it's a long answer to say a lot of these guys were really great. Some of them were jerks.
Yeah.
You're always going to have that. But vast majority of them were really good guys. And Jimmy Hart.
I've worked with him.
What a hoot.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy came from a 60s boy band.
The Gentrys.
The Gentrys. Very good.
Keep on dancing.
Good on you, man.
No,
And what a hoot he was. And he was like, always Jimmy.
If you could find... Keep on Dancing, the Gentrys. He's the high voice.
Yep.
All right, let's start. Go to the phones. We go to Tracy in Longmont. Tracy, welcome to a great show. Thank you to Jonathan Flora for being here. Tracy, you're up.
You know what? It is a really good show, man. I appreciate you putting it on.
Thank you.
You remember the butcher?
Too well. Yeah, and his brother, his name was Paul. And he was the butcher, but the Mad Dog was his brother, and the butcher dropped out. But the dog.
You know what? the Junkyard Dog was one of my favorites, man, from the South.
Same thing.
I come from Louisiana. But, you know, the old butcher, they said he used to take a razor blade and put really light cuts in his forehead.
Well, that was...
So when it hit him, he'd bleed.
Yeah, it was called juicing. The Mad Dog was his brother, and the story that they told, and I sat lots of times, when the Crusher died, I helped the dog write an obit. I mean, that's a true story, me and the dog. And
man, I love the old Junkyard Dog. I tell you what, too. You know that I'm gonna tell you this too. Did you know that Andre the Giant he was Jewish? Did you know that?
I've never heard that before. I thought he was Catholic.
Yeah. No, he actually was. He was Jewish.
Are you sure?
He really was.
I'll go with that.
I'm sure. Yeah, he really was. You know. And I love those Andre the Giant, all those guys, man. Ted DiBiase, I remember when he went bad.
$1 Million Man.
He didn't go bad on intent. They just went bad. It was like...
Oh, man.
You're right.
I mean, there's a bunch of them. Hacksaw, Dugan. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But
man, he got caught in the car. He got caught in the car with a Sheik. He came. Remember, he came and did a radio show with us, and he was great. I mean, he was great on the air, but he thought for sure I was going to jump him about getting caught in the car and they had narcotics or something.
Well, and the baby go together.
You know what, Peter, listening to you all these years, I really appreciate all the things you put out there, and I recognize that you're a tough hombre.
No, I'm an old man.
I don't doubt that.
No, thank you.
No.
I'm going to move because I don't like that. But thank you. Thank you for your call. 303, we'll go back to the phones, 303-696-1971. You were saying and then it interrupted, but... I know we were on track.
Well, you know, what I'd like to say, if I can, I was in the Army, 82nd Airborne for years, Ohio National Guard, and shortly after I left the Guard, because I did go to Connecticut, I got out, my unit was activated for the first time since the Korean War, for first Gulf Storm. I was heartbroken because I wanted to go to war with these guys. But we were at a big event where we're working with TV program directors where they would buy our shows. And our booth was a ring with some stands. So we'd have this sexy model come up with a clapper. We'd have a program director, a station owner. Mean Gene Okerlund would interview them. Then a wrestler would come out, do a little spiel, and we'd give them a videotape. So after the show, I asked the boys, I go, hey, my unit just got just sent over to Kuwait. Can we do some tapes? So Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Hillbilly Jim, Macho Man.
They were great.
I got them doing tapes and calling out some of my buddies by name. Hey, Bobby Allison, I hear you're over in the sand trap. Keep your head down, you know, on and on. That just shows, again, the generosity of these guys to get in and help support things that may or may not even have to do with their business.
When Duggan came into the studio, and he thought that I would, and then we'll go right to we have jam lines.
Did he bring his 2x4 even though it was radio?
No, he just came in, and he thought for sure that I was going to gig him on getting caught with the Iron Sheik. One of the greatest interviews ever was the Iron Sheik. and call everybody a jabroni, and you had to keep your hand on the button because of what the Iron Sheik would
drop him.
But he was a real deal.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about that car incident. Yeah, they got busted for drugs, but what the big news was a good guy and a bad guy were in the car together.
Riding together. Real quick, and the first time I saw that was in a big shared bathroom, and it was Heenan and Pedro Morales, and they were sharing a substance together. But I thought, you guys just and that's when you're starting to wake up. We go to Mike and Aurora. Hey, Mike, you're on a radio show. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. I love listening to you, Peter. My grandpa worked the locker room back in the early 60s.
At the Auditorium Arena?
Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Or not Detroit, Saginaw.
Okay, all right.
And I used to get a front row seat, little guy. And Haystack Calhoun, Brian, Fred Curry, the Sheik, the Sarge, and many, many more. And he put the patches on them. And when they don't, back then they were bloody. And I'd start crying.
Oh, sure.
And my grandpa, God bless him, but he start laughing.
Sure.
And he'd never explain it, And in the end, he explained it. He used to walk a beat. He walked a beat in Saginaw.
It's a cop.
At night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always asked him, he had a little 38 that wasn't no bigger than your hand. It was silver and shiny. But I asked him, did you ever shoot anybody? He goes, no. I pulled out my blackjack, and they were all drunk, and I just hit them in the head.
Right. Stay with wrestling. Thanks for your call. All right, man, we go to Dino. Dino, you're on a radio show. Good morning. Thank you.
Hey, Professor Boyles, how are you?
Doctor, I'm fine, Doctor. Thank you.
It's sad on Hogan. My two favorite guys who I've met, talked to before, they really are the real deal. The late Terry Funk, and I still enjoy the time I had with Magnificent Morocco. Don was great.
Morocco.
He was still great. Still alive, he's doing great. He lives in Hawaii. Okay. And Terry Funk had some good stories. I met him on an airplane. I started talking to him a long time. He kept telling me I looked like Paul Heyman. I was honored.
All right.
Well,
so let's go slow. Those guys, that was the generation that I worked. And,
I know.
And that was just when you came in. I'm talking to Jonathan. What year did you come in again?
88.
Wow.
I was there 88 to 94.
Wow.
Yeah, so again, that was the peak of the golden era when they were doing all their things, and that new generation coming in. I mean, we had talked earlier about Diesel and Razor Ramon and Jake the Snake. He was a trip.
That movie about the wrestler, they called that guy Randy the Ram. He was Jake the Snake. Yeah.
He got an Oscar nomination, that guy, Mickey Rourke.
Oh, Mickey Rourke was great in that.
Yeah, he had an Oscar nomination, yeah. He didn't win it, but yeah.
Did you see the similarities between, I'm saying to Jonathan, between Jake Roberts and Randy the Ram?
Yeah, and it also showed this is the lifestyle for these guys. And you think how many people that are jobbers that are going to all these small things thinking they're going to be the next guy. It's like minor league baseball in a way.
Wow.
And when I was with the Dodgers, I remember saying, this guy telling me, see all those guys on the field right now? They're never going to make it. They're here because of that pitcher, and we need the team. Wow. So it's these jobbers that have their dreams, and they're trying to make it. It's a hard life, especially back then.
This business, away from this for a second, 90% of this business makes 10% of the money. 10% of this business makes 90% of the money. Mm-hmm. And now as the business is shrinking and being taken over by all these other forces in media, it's being diminished. And I wonder, what kind of dough do you think Hulk made at the top?
He was making millions.
Yeah.
But again, it's based on, and as you've seen the documentary, Mr. McMahon, he took advantage of him for a while. But again, you can see both sides of the coin. Did he take advantage of him, or was he creating an opportunity these guys never had?
Music's playing. Dina, you want to continue on the other side of the break?
No, I'm good either way. I'm flying up there Monday. Give me a buzz when I'm up there.
All right, brother. Thank you. 303-696-1971. In studio, Jonathan Flora. Stay here, 710 KUS. Good morning. This will be one of the most favorite shows I think I've ever done in all these years. I'm Peter Boyles. This is 710 KNUS on a Saturday morning, the 26th of July, 2025. It's going to be really hot and hot all week. And I'm going to Sturgis next Friday morning early. So I don't know what they're going to do next Saturday, but I will be back and I'll be doing cut-ins with Jeff and Billy and allegedly Donald Trump's going to be in Sturgis, according to what I'm hearing, but we'll see what happens. Our phone number is 303-696-1971. I have wanted this man to come in and do a radio show, and he's doing it this morning. Jonathan Flora, you may know his wife. She was in the business as well, and Deborah we talked a lot about Deborah off air, but Jonathan worked for Vince, and he worked in professional wrestling, and he's absolutely great, and on the air and off the air. And I have that theory that off the air one day, and the time is probably now, and this is the same thing with wrestling, the off air goes on air, and it's called the last show you do.
There you go.
And then you head for the exits. But we were talking about what those guys were really like. And one of the guys that always drew me was Randy Savage. Mm-hmm. And he's also one of the guys that he's gone now and his heart blew up, and he was driving a car when it happened. How much of that do you think was steroid use? And we have Lau Alzado, one-time Denver Bronco, and he admitted shooting the juice, and it killed him. And what do you do with all of that?
Well, there's we had talked about the lifestyle choices, and they're larger than life characters. Steroids obviously helps that. They build up their muscles and development. But what also steroids do is it's a healing tool. These guys get banged up. Like I said, there's times where they don't pull punches because they genuinely might not like somebody or they've got a grievance, but they're going to go with the script. But there's other times they're just banging around. I mean, you see what these guys do. Their leaps are getting higher and farther, and they're hitting hard, and you cannot do that night after night and not get banged up. But there's a pattern. I mean, we can just go down the list, going back to Gorgeous George.
I got a George story, yeah.
Macho Man, Andre, Ultimate Warrior, British Bulldog, Rick Rude, Hawk, Big Boss Man, Hercules.
Hawk and Animals.
They all died in their 50s.
Yeah, Animals.
In that area. And there's certainly a pattern.
Nick Bockwinkel told me a story. His dad was a professional wrestler by the name of Warren Bockwinkel, and pretty legendary back in that day. And his tag partner was Gorgeous George. And he had these George stories. And they said, and I once did an interview with Dennis James, who on DuPont, back when I was probably 5, they took wrestling because it was a one-camera shoot.
Yeah.
And the same was true with roller derby. No, I'm serious. Yeah. And, they didn't have mobile like now. How many cameras are covering an NFL game?
Oh, countless.
How many?
Including drones.
And now how many? But pro wrestling, it was a one-camera shoot. And they used to have to cement those, they used cement to anchor those cameras. The cameras had to be weighted down and steady. And DuPont was the network. And Dennis James, he told me to have chicken bones, and that's a true story. And he would crack them on the microphone when the guy would put an arm lock on somebody, and it make that noise.
That's great.
He was wonderful. And then they said the same thing with roller derby. It was a one-camera elevated shoot, one camera, and that's why they put him over. And out of that comes, you're right, comes Gorgeous George. And the story, and Ali admits
he was flamboyant. I mean, way ahead of the
George.
He was a show.
Well, he was also, according to Nick, and I know what this is, they're called periodic alcoholics, meaning they'll be sober for 3 months, and then they will just be drunk for 3 weeks. And Nick said that his dad, he knew George. George came to the house, and they were in Oklahoma, and he said that George would stay straight and be George, and Muhammad Ali learned to knock it off of George, and because Ali was a fan, And there's a story in the book, The Greatest. He goes and he has now won his medal in the Olympics, and there's a conglomerate that buys him, and he has a fight in Vegas. And he's going to do a radio show in Vegas. Well, ahead of him is George. And the next day he looks at the gate, and he sees his gate, and he won his fight, but he sees George's gate. And that's when he became the lip. Was off
Louisville lip.
He became the lip off of because of George Wagner. And Bockwinkel told all these stories that he would go to Vegas and find a showgirl, and he'd go through all of his money, and he'd come back. And if you ever watch the old black and white stuff where he comes into the ring and he's got, his hair is like, who cares now, but he had he had, what did they call them, something pins. He had not Bobby pins, but I think Georgie pins or something. He'd throw them at the crowd, and he had a valet, and he'd squirt perfume in the corner. And the whole match would last, the real physical part would be about 10 minutes.
And his entrance was 5. Remember what his cape used to do to the cameras back then? Because they had all
glitter.
The glitter, and they would flare so badly it would almost kind of black out the camera for a little bit because the cameras couldn't handle the
and who was calling it? Dennis James.
Yeah.
And they told great stories about the time when they went to television, and that made them.
Yeah.
And they knew, but George, they owe George this, and alcohol killed him, but they owe him that part too. Who do you think? I mean, you mentioned Vince, with the death of Hogan. How important is Hogan to all of this?
Well, he hasn't been involved in it actively for quite a while. So, Vince is not so much part of WWE.
He's out
anymore. Yeah, he's. I mean, you can maybe air quote out if you want, but I don't really know, to be honest. But he was a legend, But they've got so many stars. I mean, again, when they left and went to the WCW, we're like, what are we going to do? We just got more stars. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down. You talked about the beer can earlier. Some guy named The Rock. He kind of did pretty well.
Did you know him?
So no, he came after.
Okay.
I met him once very briefly for something at a completely different
I met his dad.
world.
His dad was.
But there's always somebody somewhere that's going to do something. Somebody mentioned Haystack Calhoun earlier. I've got a picture of him holding my sister when she was a baby. It's like holding this coffee cup. And I remember he would put 2 metal chairs together, and that's how he would sit, because he wrestled in a T-shirt and bib overalls.
Bib overall, that's right.
And he was like 600 pounds back then. But you were asking about Macho Man. Yeah. Again, a lot of these guys, they had their own persona and who they were. Most of them, their stage persona was something different. And Bret Hart, it was almost like night and day.
Yeah.
He was a very reserved, kind of shy guy. Always sat kind of down, but when the light came on,
boom,
he was Bret Hitman Hart.
Yep.
Macho Man was pretty much always on.
That's what I heard.
He would walk in, he's like, "How you doing, brother?" I mean, I don't know how he could even talk. His voice was so gravelly, and so even when he wasn't up, he was always Macho Man. And then when Miss Elizabeth was
did he
around,
really lock her in a room? And
you did not get close to Miss Elizabeth. He was very, very protective of her.
No, I've heard.
Even in the back,
yeah.
And sometimes we wouldn't see her until she came out for the ring and would do her thing and go back. I don't know. I think it's a protective thing. It could have been an insecurity thing as well. Because a lot of these guys, and I mean guys in general, we have an alter ego, that's usually compensating for something else. But I can't say that about him. I don't really know. I've seen the same things you guys have seen that now come out. Because in those days, you're not going to talk about whatever's behind a curtain.
No.
It's only what's in the ring, in the arena.
I mean, I witnessed one. I saw a real confrontation. I mean, where somebody was really mad at the other guy, and they cleared the locker room. Everybody had the straights, the non-wrestlers. We had to leave, and I understood why, but.
Oh, we had one. I remember the Rousseau brothers. Remember Jacques and Armand
sure,
Rousseau?
Of course.
They got into something with some guys in the hallway in the back, and it was it was real deal stuff.
They were fierce.
They were upset.
They were fierce.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell people, you think these guys are just, they're not.
But they're human beings too. I mean, they've got a grievance if somebody said something or did something, or they're humans like the rest of us.
Did you have favorites when you worked?
I had favorites as stars, and then also guys that were just easier to work with.
Yeah.
Some were really easy to work with. Hulk, his time was priority. You got your set a lot of time with him, and that was it because he was on to the next thing. Ultimate Warrior, I remember one of the first times I went on a speaking engagement with him, and I was still pretty raw at this. I'm like, do I call you Ultimate Warrior, or what do I say? And I called him Jim.
Yeah, that was
Jim
his real name.
Helwig.
Yeah.
And he looks over and he goes, "Hey, brother, call me Warrior."
Yeah.
And I'm like, never again. I'll
Got it.
call you Jim.
Yeah.
Got it. And he was cool. But he was the kind of guy, he did only what he had to do. But like when we were doing Mountain Dew Slam of the Night or whatever, and I had to hold, I remember this one vividly, he had to hold this ice chest up that had Mountain Dew on it. And I had to get him a couple of times because he just wasn't holding it right. It was covering part of his face or whatever. And we had to get a few takes. Finally got it. He walks out, turns around, and he goes, "I'd only do that for you." And then he walks off.
Well,
And I go, "I appreciate that, Warrior."
they brought him back, and then he died, the next night or something?
Because they had a big falling out also, and they brought him back, got him in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He's somebody that, again, was searching, whatever it might be. His life, I don't know, was his faith or whatever. But and it's the sad part is, you see some of these guys, they get their lives turned around, and then they're taken from us. But but I guess the grace is, they were taken from us after they got turned around, not in the middle of something. But everybody was different.
You were saying earlier, and I read it, that Hogan, and I wasn't sure if he was shooting or working because of just how I look at the world, that he legitimately, and he had been married, he married a woman for a very short amount of time, then he married this third woman, and that he legitimately found his way.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I only had the knowledge of what I've read and what I've seen also. The video of him being baptized, and he's wearing all white, so even then he's doing his thing.
No, he's not, yeah.
But I thought it was pretty cool that because he always wore the bright yellow and the red.
Sure.
Then he turned heel, he's wearing black.
Yep.
And then he finds his faith, and it seems to be legit. You know, everything appeared to be legit, and he's wearing all white and getting baptized, and good for him. Praise God for that.
I'm going to ask you about somebody that I am about 50-50 might be listening because he lives here, Vince Russo. And he's done a show with me a couple of times, and I've had lunch with him. But he was not, well, love-hate is probably not the best way to say it, but were you there when Russo was there?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause we had a couple guys kind of come and go. Even Von Erich, when he got there, and that was, hiding that he had an amputated foot. I mean, that family, they just went through tragedy after tragedy.
Explain that family.
Well, his dad was a big time heel.
Fritz.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And, coming at a time where it's just post-World War II, and they always find a way to dig at something. So who are you going to hate most? You're going to hate the Nazis, and that's what they would do. Yeah. And then he had a family that basically he was insisting the sons all follow in his footsteps to varying degrees. He was a guy that picked his favorite, who was going to have the most talent, who was most dedicated, who was going to give his life.
Yep.
And honestly, they all ended up giving their lives. One died in Japan from something abdominal, and they're still kind of mysterious.
Drugs,
Another OD, a couple of them shot themselves. I mean, it was a really tragic family.
I have a cigarette lighter that he gave me, and it says "Taken by Force" from the Von Erichs. Seriously, I mean, it's in
everything's marketing.
Everything, but it's a Zippo, and it says just "Taken by Force" from the Von Erichs. And the guy that I got to know when they had the Freebirds, that Steve Harms, who used to do sports here, worked on it was called the Sportatorium in Texas.
Yeah,
they had
what a great name for a venue.
And it was this wooden place that had rats and and every conceivable cockroaches, and they packed it. And Fritz would take pride in Friday night football, high school football in Texas is over the moon. Mm-hmm. They could pack the sportatorium on Friday night with the Freebirds. And I got to know Michael Hayes a little bit. Did you work with Hayes? Mm-mm. We have a minute till the pause. This is too good. We're going to hang on. It's the kind of, but Michael Hayes he talked about it to me about going and wrestling for Fritz. And
like you said, counting the box in the back room.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
He said, we'll do it all. We're coming back. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. I don't care about anybody else today but me. It's like, this is what I want to do. Jonathan Flora is here, and I couldn't be happier. Everyone hang on, 710 KNUS. Saturday, July 26, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles. I will not be here next week. I'll be in Sturgis for the Hodge for motorcyclists. 303-696-1971. It's going to be a really hot day, and my bike's outside, and it was just a very, very sad week. The loss of, and again, there was a loss of so many people. Ozzy was gone, Mangione goes, and God, just the list goes on of losing these really significant people. But I remember it was the lead story. When I turned on the news, the lead national story was Hulk Hogan.
They're still talking about it.
Yeah. And
well, you were the first person when I got up that morning, and I mean, it was a little bit later in the morning. You were obviously the first person I thought of, and that's why I reached out to you. Yeah.
So, did you work with Piper, Roddy Piper?
Yeah, he had left when I got there, and then he came back. Roddy Piper, and was it Piper's Corner?
Yep.
Yeah, Piper's Corner. And so he had to come back. The same with Jesse the Body Ventura.
I worked with Jesse.
He had gone and came back while I was there. So
Jesse the Governor.
And again, I was at a really fun time where I got to be around current guys and see some of these. In old time, I remember when REM put Freddie Blassie his name in a song, and we were sitting there having breakfast, and the song played. We just looked at each other.
Walked like Ric Flair.
Yeah,
I wanted to be Ric Flair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when
I didn't do the Nature Boy woo, and I'm not going to do it now.
No, you can't. No, but everybody did.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, but Piper, I worked with Piper a bunch of different times and got to know him. He was actually, and his son was a beginning UFC fighter. His name was Colt, I think, and he was trying to be a UFC fighter. And Piper told me a story, and I believe it. His ring jacket was a motorcycle jacket, but he had lead plates in it because he had been stabbed. And so when he went to the ring in the motorcycle jacket, it was like body armor. So he tells me a story about how he ends up in working for Vince, and he's in L.A. and he's wrestling in Southern Cal, and he had obviously played the pipes, and it ended up with he and Pedro Morales, and I actually worked a show with Pedro, and he was from Puerto Rico, but they put him over as from Mexico in L.A. And so the program was they got to a point where if Piper lost the match, he'd have to play the Mexican national anthem on the pipes the next show. So as he tells the story, I'll get to the phones, and he said there's like cops, and this place is standing room only. They're hanging off the rafters because he's going to have to play the Mexican national anthem. And he gets in the ring with his pipes, and he comes up, and he plays La Cucaracha. Now, for you and I, that's funny as hell, because you know what he's doing. And he said he got out of there barely with his life. And he said that night, or the next night, the phone rang. And the guy said, "This is Vince McMahon. Are you the guy that has the whatever's to play La Cucaracha?" And he said, "I am." He said, "It's a ticket for you come to New York."
Stanford, Connecticut.
That's how he got to Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he was tough. He was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And he got into movies for a while.
He was great, and then he did the Comedy Works here. He did a stand-up, and he came on a radio show. Then we went to the show to see him work. And he was funny but he was funny, like ruthlessly funny, like you're trying to think of like not Don Rickles, but like a little bit.
That was ruthless.
Oh.
Try doing his humor now. Well, maybe now you can. You couldn't the last 5 years, but maybe now it can come back.
You couldn't. Rickles couldn't work today. Back to the phones. Marcus in Aurora on a radio show. And by the way, Connie Francis died. I thank you very much. I'd forgotten that. Wow. Marcus, you're up. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I was going to say Epstein Island is not like Sturgis.
No. Sturgis is no. Trump is there's a there's a story going around that Trump is actually going to be in Sturgis. He's been in.
Oh, I got to see this.
Right.
He might be.
He might be.
But
yeah.
I want to talk about the Hulk.
Okay.
And you were in the wrestling like I was back in the day, and it's not the same these days. But I remember the greatest fight wrestling match was Andre the Giant and the Hulk, and then the Sheik. And
the Sheik was a great interview. I know that.
Well,
I have a button down here. We're working in delay, and you literally had to stay on that button. I mean, he's gonna, and his name was Cosgrove Vasari, and
I didn't know that.
And he'd been the Shah's bodyguard, and
well, he always had the Arab flag. No, it's not Arab.
No,
whatever
he was for real, because he told me his life, and we sat and talked and had lunch. He was an Iranian, and the Shah was in power, and his teacher in truly wrestling, and I think they did catch can or whatever they did, and he was, as Cosgrove, he had been like the number 2 or number 3 guy, and then his mentor, his teacher, his coach, who was the number 1, was murdered. And they saw what was happening. He fled. And he ended up coaching wrestling at, I'm going to say the University of Minnesota, and I'm sure I'm wrong. And Vern heard about him and saw him, and they brought him to that crazy farm that Vern had, and he just beat everybody. They just said, and he was in great shape, and he came in as a face, and then they realized that, like we were talking off air, Jonathan and I, after the Second World War, every heel was Japanese, and every heel was German, and I remember watching like on TV, and if a Japanese guy did something, the announcer would say he Pearl Harbored him, which is straight out of my And the German guys, Fritz von Erich and those guys, they played, they played the role. Thank you. And
and you know something, Peter, with the Sheik, because after that bombing with the Marines over there, and that's when you saw Hulk Hogan coming in with the American flag and the Sheik.
Yep.
That was like.
No, that was all real. I mean, but the Sheik was such a great interview. We had the Sheik on twice, but then they're going, you better not try the Sheik again, because Sheik was going to take your head off. But he was the reason that the Sheik beat somebody, and then Hulk Hogan beat the Sheik. And that was the setup. That started, and it went from there.
One of the few times
I wanted to ask you one question.
Go ahead. You ask Jonathan. Yeah.
Gene Abel, and I really liked him. He was one of those great sports announcers. And what was he really like? Was he really like that? Like, what are you going to do there?
Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah,
I think
Mean Gene Okerlund.
About. Yeah.
He was a hoot. He was a really funny guy, and the first memory that pops into mind was how cool he was when he did the veteran stuff with me, because he did that on his own. But we were at the airport one time, and we're picking up our bags from the carousel, and he goes to pick up a bag, and he lets the bag pull him onto the carousel, and then he's spread eagle, right, and just doing that just for fun. He was a very fun guy.
Yeah, he
very affable.
He worked for Vern. And he did the ring for Vern too, and I think once again Vince could spot talent.
Yeah.
And when Vince calls, you go.
You do.
Yeah.
Wow. You don't question it.
And that was Piper's story, and I always thought that was great. I said, "You did what?" And he told me that he said I was in New York. I got a cut. We're coming back again. I want Jonathan to stay. It's like this is a show for. I'm hogging the show, but I want it. We don't get to do this, and I've wanted to work with this man forever. Jonathan Flora is here. I'm Peter Boyles. It's Saturday morning. You can open up 303-696-1971. Stay here, 710 KNUS. everybody. I get to say it now. We hit noon, 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station, and good afternoon. Thank you. Phone number is 303-696-1971, and the weather is hot, 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 hot. I will not be here next Saturday. I don't know who will, but I won't. And actually, this will be the next day I ought to give the show to Jonathan. Hey, man, take the show. But I'm going to Sturgis on the Hodge, and then I'll be back, and I'll be checking in with the morning show guys, with Jeff and Billy from Sturgis. So it has been, for me, the best show I've been involved in years. And sitting with us is Jonathan Flora, and I think everybody knows his wife, and Deborah had a show here and ran for office, and she's just the best. And I met Jonathan, I don't know, some party that the radio station threw. This is, I don't know how long ago. I know that I've wanted him to do a radio show for over 3 years. And they said, he worked in pro wrestling. And you don't find people that have worked in pro wrestling. I mean, I had a couple years off and on where I could do the ring and do some TV interviews for the stuff, and I traveled a little bit, but he was the man. And so...
No, Ric Flair's the man.
Well, he's the man. He is the man. I was with him. I thought the world of Ric Flair. I mean, I thought he is exactly who he says he is.
Yeah.
Do you think that's...
Yeah. And again, there's a nice documentary on him also.
Saw it.
And he shows where he came from. And how many times a lot of these ideas, especially when you get with Vince, he creates a persona. And it's either going to work or it's not. Like we were talking earlier, there's times where he'll find a talent and the persona just isn't working. You're not getting heat if you're a good guy, nobody's cheering. You're not getting heat if you're a heel, nobody's booing.
That's true in radio.
And they keep finding it.
Yeah.
And then finally you get where that matches.
Yes.
That's that sweet spot. Then all those variations before never happened. You just get the big eraser
Different name.
But Rick was very involved, from what I understand, and developed his own. And Gorgeous George,
he was
big influencer. He was the new coming of that guy. But and just made and breaking rules. Some of these guys, again, they're breaking the old school rules with the new rules, and every now and then it really hits. You got lightning in a bottle, and obviously that was Ric Flair, Nature Boy.
How significant was it when McMahon deals himself into the story?
Well, it was interesting because coming from his dad, you were always behind the scenes.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh.
You the stars were the stars.
No one knew that Vern earned the company. He owned the AWA.
Yeah.
It was his company. I didn't know it till I went to work for him.
Yeah. And but Vince, he likes to be on camera. He likes to be the driving force, and he created a situation that worked. And then as years went by, his character, Mr. McMahon, started becoming more and more of a storyline, even to the point where Shane, his son, you had referenced the term smartening up.
Right.
He started Shane at the bottom. He was working on the ring. He was working on, and I mean guys setting the ring up.
Yep.
It's because he wanted him to learn the business, every facet of it. And but he created the character that actually worked. And he was a big man too.
Well, he's kind of a heel in real life too. I mean, people have said.
Yeah. And I have to say, I've heard some of those stories. Yeah. I've talked to people that were firsthand recipients of some of those stories. He was nothing but cool to me.
There you go.
Yeah, we just hit it off, and I can tell you a real quick story if you want.
Sure.
Somebody was in their nicest suit, and they are talking about how the left cuff is cut bigger than the right because of his Rolex watch. And Vince he dressed well, but he let that be the speaking. He didn't talk about it. So this guy's just going on about a suit. And Vince looks over at me and he goes, "Well, Jonathan, that's a nice suit." I go, "Yeah, it's Jean-Claude Pinay." And the guy that was bragging about a suit goes, "What's Jean-Claude Pinay?" I go, "J.C. Penney." Vince just smacks me on the back and howls and walks off. But he was always very cool to me, and he saw where I bridged that gap between the suits and the boys also, and appreciated that.
Yeah, because there was when the guys came to town and then traveled, and the traveling that I did was I used to call them church buses, or they were like Ford vans, and they had like 5 seats in them. Remember like and they would have 3 or 4 of them because we're not on airplanes. We're we're traveling on the road, and you'd go from Casper to Cheyenne, and Cheyenne to Denver, and Denver to we went to Colorado Springs, and then we went to Pueblo, and then they would go to Albuquerque, and sometimes I'd get off and come back because I was doing other stuff. But and I've told this story many times. It's when I learned the business. I learned everything about everything, and it was the night in Casper. We fought in the ring, and I had a rented tuxedo, and there was a tuxedo guy on Spear Boulevard, and he was a mark, and he would give us tuxedos, and that was one of those with the blue one, with the big the ruffles, and the night went bad, and there was not a lot of cops there, and the guys were climbing in the ring, the marks, and fists are flying, so we had to stay inside because they were waiting outside to stab us or something.
They're believers, man. They're true and blue.
And we're sitting inside, and the promoters would always have these big rubber buckets full of beer cans, full of beer, cold beer. And by this time, I'm at least reasonably smart. And the heels in the faces, everybody's sitting over there drinking beer, waiting till we could leave. And when they get the green light and there's nobody in the parking lot, you guys can go now. So Heenan was always, I was that he hung the moon. And so we're walking through the lot, and I had this ripped tuxedo, and I got punched, and I said, Bobby, I said, what a night. I said, this is like what I always hoped it would be. And
how many people get to say getting punched in the face is a night that you hoped it would be?
Because you're fighting, you're fighting with people, and when they turned it on, they could really turn it on. And I remember Ray Stevens was there and a bunch of other guys, and he turned me around in the parking lot, and Bobby was bigger than people thought. Mm-hmm. And he turned me around the parking lot, and he said, did you get paid? And at that point, I understood everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't get paid, and then I understood radio, advertising, and I think I got, I don't know, $75 or $100 or whatever it was to do the ring, and but I remember that night like it's yesterday, and he said, "Did you get paid?" And I knew then, like everything else is out the window. Did you get the money? And Heenan taught me that.
Yeah, well, but at the beginning of certain careers, especially when we're doing things that we never thought we'd ever be doing, that gets a dream come true, the idea of doing that and getting a cold beer is pay.
Oh.
And then you realize later, no, wait a minute.
Well, hang on.
This is a business.
Yes.
I should be negotiating from a business point of view.
I'd have done it for free.
Of course.
I was in Sturgis, and I used to do a lot of media up in Sturgis. I don't do it anymore. And the old Full Throttle, they had a party, and they had NASCAR drivers there, and Hawaii Tropics girls, and and I get invited. I don't drink anymore, but I met Dale Earnhardt Jr. And he's there with some Tropics, and we were talking, and a friend of mine had actually worked for his dad and was in the hospital when his dad died. So I brought up David's name, and oh yeah, sure, and we started to talk. And he said, and he'd had more than one, and he said, here's what they don't know. He said, we would do it for free. He said, but they pay us a lot of money.
Yeah, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm 180 miles an hour in the wall of Talladega. He said, we would do that for free, but they pay us money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And I thought about that a lot, too. Like, those guys...
You're going to be a NASCAR driver in your next life?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I got the heart, but to be there and do that and think about it. And he said, we'd do it for free. Yeah. He said, but...
I mean, how many people get to look back and go, I'm doing stuff. I mean, these guys, obviously, he was raised. Second generation.
Was an old man. Oh.
But sometimes my wife and I, we look back and go, we've had like this Forrest Gump life.
Oh.
The things that we've been able to do that we would have never thought of. We just pinch each other and go, what are we doing here? You know, and it's about the people you encounter along the way, the stories you get to tell, and when you get a little peek behind the curtain, sometimes it's pretty cool.
And do you ever go through this thing where you say, I just had we had this conversation last night at dinner with Ted Trumba, and he's the guy that turned Colorado blue. I mean, he's the man. And we had this talk about everybody we've met that's significant, and he's off a farm, and and I came out of a little town on the Allegheny River, and you say, you met these people. Are there people you wish you had never met? We talk about the people that we met and went, wow, guess who I'm sitting here with? Or, wow, I get to do that. Never meet your heroes. It's like, because do you ever meet people in the business that we're talking about in wrestling? You say, man, I wish I'd never been around this guy.
Yeah, maybe if they had an impact on you.
Yeah.
But we encounter people that are not like-minded or personality-wise, and we do our best to never give them control. If we let people irritate us, that's to some degree, usually if they're large, that's on us.
Yes, it is.
It's like, I just don't have time and deal with that. And then sometimes you just have these chance encounters. I mean, I remember one time going to the airport and going up to the Admirals Club, because we flew all the time. Yeah. So, and this arm pops in the elevator, and it's Ernest Borgnine.
There you go.
And we have this wonderful chat.
Yeah.
We get to the lobby area. We chat another 15 or 20 minutes. Years later, I meet him at an event with Gary Sinise, and Ernest is there, and I go, Ernest, we had a chat years ago, and you were so cool and kind. He goes, I remember that. He goes, I went back and I told my wife all about that conversation. I go, you did? He goes, no. It obviously meant a lot more to me than it did to him.
Sure.
But you just meet people, especially in the Hollywood world, or even sports celebrities, where they can become this entitled individual that society encourages and accepts, and they don't. Gary Sinise is a great example.
He's a good guy.
Worked in Hollywood, very successful in Hollywood, never became Hollywood.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that they override or trump anybody that you meet that's just an idiot.
You meet guys, and I've been lucky enough to hang into this business, and I mean, I count you as one of those guys, by the way, that I met Jonathan, and we did like a 9-hour show.
And we're only halfway.
Only halfway through. But real quick, and then there's a story that Ted and I were talking about. And again, you go through this stuff and you meet guys and you go, well, why don't we just take the call? We'll come back to this. I don't want these guys waiting. Hey, Don, you're on a radio show. Our special guest, Jonathan Flora. Good morning or good afternoon. Pardon me. Welcome to the show.
Great show.
Thank you.
Really good.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to go back. Do you remember the Dusek brothers?
I do. I remember the names.
Joe Dusek was a promoter. He was also a wrestler before that. He was out of Omaha when he was doing producing, but he was also a wrestler, he and his 3 brothers. When I was a kid, once in a while they'd come down to Lincoln, and he put on a show, and I went up to him, said, Mr. Dusek, is this stuff real or is it fake? He says, kid, it's a show.
Yeah.
But I got to see Vern Gagne and Reggie Parks, and they always wrestled straight up.
Yeah, there were. We were talking about Vern. Vern was an Olympian, and he was also played pro football for Green Bay, and that's where he met the Vachons. He told me the story all about it, and Mad Dog told me the story that they put him over from Algeria. They weren't Algerians; they were French Canadians.
But Mad Dog looked like a Russian.
I tell you what, for real. Mad Dog Vachon, he was the one guy that I really grew pretty close to, and a couple of those guys I grew close to. He read existentialism, and he was no fool. He was crazy, but they asked me if I could bump, and that means if you could get thrown onto the ring, and I said, sure, I can do that.
We always say yes.
Oh, we always say yes. And so it was
Suckers.
No, it was the final match of the night, And it was, once again, it was the Gagnes and the Heenans because they sold out. And I heard everybody, and I'm in the ring, and when you're in the ring, you're in the lights, and you can't see into the dark. You can't see down. I mean, you can see the first one or two rows, but you can't see beyond that. And I hear all this noise and commotion, and I have my back turned the other way, and then this voice behind me says, "I ain't gonna hurt you." And it was it was Mad Dog, and they take him up. That's what they say. But when they let you go, they tuck you, and you know, and I slammed. He slammed me. I took great pride in that. You know,
absolutely.
Like, the Mad Dog was Sean. I took a bump from the dog, but you know, to bounce the announcer, that was like, whoa. You know, they were. Are you okay? I'm fine. It was like, but then I got to know him. And he read French existentialist. He spoke French, and he met Vern in the Olympics. And Vern recruited him and his brother Paul. But the story I was going to say earlier about Green Bay, and so if you remember the name Vito Babe Pirelli, and Vito Babe Pirelli was the Kentucky Babe. He was everybody's idol to us growing up in Western Pennsylvania because he was a local ethnic kid, first generation, and he went on to be the Kentucky Babe. He gets recruited, and he goes and he wins a national championship, and then he goes to Green Bay. He gets recruited to go to Green Bay, and he said that the training table in Green Bay, and he said there's a guy sitting. He told me the story. He says there's a guy sitting down on the end of the table, eating with both hands. And he said, it was Dick the Bruiser. And that's where he told me about meeting Dick the Bruiser. And then he went on to the Jets and taught Joe Willie Namath how to play football, he says. But I'll tell you what, Babe Pirelli was like one of the all-timers, loved boxing, you know, he was one of those kids. But he said it was, and they were all there. They had come out of Green Bay. And, of course, they lived in Minnesota. So they were all, most of those guys, like, the Road Warriors were from Minnesota, and all those guys were
tough guys.
Oh, man!
Pete, my last question for you: Are you still taking Speed?
Still taking what?
Speed.
What's that?
It's Gagne's vitamins.
Oh, I never took Vern. Vern sold those. That's right. I remember.
We had this guy on the fights on Saturday night in Omaha. His name is Joe Swyback. Small guy, slick back hair, and he's always blinking his eyes and wiggling his mouth, taking Speed, and it would cure damn near everything.
I remember they were in the backs of magazines. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
On the back of wrestling magazines, there would be Vern Gagne sold vitamins. I forgot that. And
I got to go to Amazon, bud. If I can get some, I'll ship some out to you.
No, it's okay, man. No.
Hey, great show. I got to go.
All right, thank you. All right, what do we got? We got a minute till we got 30 seconds. We'll return 303-696-1971. This is, like I said, a show I've wanted to do forever, and I'm getting to do it. And then I'll be gone next Saturday, and I don't know what they're going to do, but I'll be back. I hope. All's well. Hot today, 71. It will be the low tonight, and then it's hot again tomorrow. 710 KNUS. Jimmy Hart. The high voice. It's the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, who I did a couple shows with, who I just loved. And he told me he was the lead singer of the Gentrys.
Yeah.
And he's also the one that told me Elvis used to come to pro wrestling and in the South and sit with the light guy up, elevated.
So nobody could see him.
So nobody could see him. And he was a stone cold mark. And of course,
it's really funny to some of the marks that came out. We had celebrities that would come to WrestleMania, and one of mine was Mary Tyler Moore.
Loved her.
And she comes in, and she's Mary Tyler Moore. And the more we talked, the more she just opened up, and how that conversation started and how it ended were completely different. It was really
she
really
was
sweet.
She was marking.
Yep, she was marking.
All right.
Yep.
I mean, Elvis marked.
Yeah.
Well, you can see. I say he's a white trash kid from Tupelo, Mississippi. He'd stone cold mark.
And again, good and bad was so clearly delineated.
Oh.
It was a white hat and a black hat, and we wanted good over evil.
And that's the morality play that I've said. It's the genre of pro wrestling is the in medieval morality plays. And I think all of that stuff's true.
Yeah, and betrayal when someone does a turn, you're shocked and you can't believe it. And you're back tomorrow.
Yeah, Larry Zbyszko turning on Bruno Sammartino in the Garden, the greatest turn of all.
Yeah.
No, that's
and when Andre turned, and that body slam heard round the world.
Yep.
He picked him up,
yes,
and Hulk has said publicly as well. He goes, he's 700 pounds. He felt like 1,000.
And he wasn't really sure, was he?
No, and he tore, I think, a partial pec or shoulder or something when he did that.
But he wasn't sure what Andre was going to do.
And that was when he was having his back issues. He wore a brace underneath his singlet. And so you talk about when you're helping a guy body slam and helping him land right.
Yep.
Imagine trying to help, first of all, pick a 700-pound man. And he doesn't just do a waist twirl. He gets him up to his chest and turn him and get him so he can land with doing the least possible damage to Andre.
And Heenan told me, because Heenan was his manager, and they had to ride like in a golf cart to the ring because Andre couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And Heenan, he said, we had long talks about Andre, and he said, if Andre didn't want you to win, you didn't win. And he said straight up, he said whatever Andre wanted, that's what was going to happen.
Why they called him the boss.
Yeah, he said, and Hogan was not sure what it was going to, and that's the biggest crowd ever, or second biggest crowd ever.
I think that was Silverdome, I believe.
Yeah.
93,000 people
came to see that.
Yeah, they brought him in like elevated carts, almost like when you're hanging lights.
Yeah. And he said and he said that Andre couldn't have walked to that ring. He was that hurt by then, and he did what he did. I wonder what his first paycheck was on that.
It wasn't small. It wasn't an ice pack and cold beer like you got.
No, is that check good?
Yes, exactly. Well, try it in Detroit.
Don't take a check.
Not working in Chicago.
Yeah, don't take a check. The other one too was, and I got to meet him. It was Alex Karras. And he was doing a television show called, it was named after the kid. If anybody can remember, but he and she becomes his wife, and they got the little kid, and they're raising the kid, and he's Alex Karras. And I had always heard the story about him and Dick the Bruiser, because he had been suspended for gambling.
Yeah, him and Paul Hornung.
And they needed money.
Yeah.
And so they decided that he could pro wrestle, and he could wrestle Dick the Bruiser.
And he could act well enough.
Oh,
he was great in Blazing Saddles.
He
punched out a horse.
He was Mongo.
Exactly.
Mongo.
Exactly.
And so I said, well, what? Tell me the truth of that story. And he said, well, he was fronting a bar, but it was really his then father-in-law that ran and owned a bar, but it's called his bar. It was in Detroit because they were playing for the Lions. And he said, so Dick the Bruiser was supposed to come in the bar and begin a commotion, and that would get in the papers, and then they were going to settle it in Kobo. Then it's a perfect program, and they were going to get it on. So he said, Dick the Bruiser comes in drunk, and he's not playing. And he said, and they ended up, one of the Detroit cops billies him, in the forehead. And there's a picture with blood running down Dick the Bruiser's forehead. He said, we sold Kobo out twice.
That's fun.
Butkus, man, he was like, he said, and not Butkus, but come on,
Karras.
Peter. Yeah, Karras. And I said, did you like him? He said he was hard to like. He said, but he said, we made money. We made money that night. Webster, that was the show.
There you go.
And he was, Karras was great. I mean, but he talked about him and Dick the Bruiser, and the other one was, and he passed away here. It's a guy named Steve Williams, and they called him Dr. Death.
Mm.
And I didn't know him until after he came home sick, and he rode a Harley, and we became really good friends. And he would go to remotes with me, and I loved the guy. And so he told me something that also made sense. Through the Mid-South, he was the white heel, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and the face was he called him Sly. It was a junkyard dog. And so here it is, white bad guy, black good guy, Mid-South. They're in Alabama, and that kind of stuff. And he said, and he had one of those really tricked out vans. He said it got burned like 4 times. They burned his van down. But he said, and he always said, me and Sly made money. And Ric Flair always said, me and Steamboat made money.
Ricky the Dragon.
And it wasn't like I made the money. They made the money.
Well, you're only as good as your opponent. I mean, again, look at the Hulk and Andre, situations.
And you don't want to hurt the guy.
No, because he's your ticket, like you were just saying. Because we got to do this tomorrow night in another city.
Yep.
Do you remember when unmasking somebody was a big deal?
Oh.
I remember as a kid, they had the masked medics. And they were a local in the Northeast, because this would have been in Virginia when my father was in the Navy. And this was the night they were finally going to get the masks off.
Yeah.
And, of course, just when they get them all unlaced, the other one will come in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you'll sucker it for the next time. Sure. This is the night they're going to get the mask.
Oh.
And that's all a rip-off from Mexican wrestling.
Luchadors.
Everybody, yeah. The fun stuff. Everything's a gimmick.
I love luchadors.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was really following the luchadors, the Mexican, although they were tag team champions in Mexico City, they were called the Landlords. Isn't that the best? I mean, because
how apropos now.
Oh, they were called the Landlords, and they were like heels, and luchador heels.
So I got a funny Trump story, Trump story.
Sure.
Way before he's ever going to run for president or anything like that. And we're having an event in Atlantic City, and he actually came to a pre-production meeting that we had. Very affable, cool guy, talked to everybody. Then we're in the green room the night of the event. Trump walks in, and he sees me right away, and motions comes right over to me. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing? You ready for tonight? Shakes my hand and everything. And then he goes to the next person. And I'm like, wow, he knew my name. And then I look down, I've got like four all-access pass with my name everywhere.
Oh,
yeah.
And they fronted wrestling all the time in Atlantic City.
Boxing, wrestling, anything that's a spectacle. That's Atlantic City.
So and he was there.
He was there.
He was there. Yeah. No, they were, like I said, he's supposed to be in Sturgis. We'll see.
Well, Chrissy Nome is she's a big Sturgis fan,
Oh,
and I actually went on a fishing trip with her in Alaska and some other folks, and she was talking about one time where they warned her not to go to Sturgis because just so much is going on and everything. And so she does it in her interview, and then, of course, standing behind her, some girl lifts her top.
Sure, of course.
And I go, so there's no controlled environment.
Welcome
when you're
to Sturgis. Yeah,
Exactly.
No,
You're going to have a great time, man. You excited?
This is be my 29th year I've gone.
Is it ever get old?
No, not for me.
There you go.
But it's, Tanya Tucker. There was we had time of the greatest bar fights I ever. With you, I just talked, and it was in Cheyenne in the Buckle Club, and she was going with a guy named Bobby Brown, who they called Hooter, who was a saddle bronc rider, and she had actually done a song called "Out When You're Out There Riding Rainbows," and it was about Hooter, who I knew pretty well, and he was one of those West Texas kids. And Larry Mahan and Kurt Gowdy, and when they did rodeo once a year, and they did Cheyenne because of Kurt, and it was Kurt Gowdy Park and everything. And Larry had quit riding, but he had a band, and he and Kurt are on the stage. Well, I got to sit in the front seat, and this woman came in, had a Greenpeace jacket on. Now we're in Cheyenne, which I thought was, man, it's a little different.
A little bold.
Yeah, and had a mouth on her like a sailor. I mean, she was like, and so Larry does this whole thing. He said, we have a special guest here, and we'll see if we're going to go up and do a song. And Miss Tanya Tucker, I didn't know it was her, because they didn't say Tanya, they say Tanya in the South. She stood up, and some guy grabs her, certain part, fight's on. That fight must have lasted, I forget how long, and they always said, they're watching the fight, and somebody said, hey, Kurt, turn the cameras around and show them Cheyenne, because by this time there's 50 guys in I'm exaggerating, there's 20 guys in the fight. So it was a legendary fight. So I'm in Cheyenne, I'm in Sturgis, and Tanya Tucker's appearing, and they had a celebrity ride. I get invited to ride, and sitting on a Road King is Tanya Tucker. And I went over and I said, Miss Tucker, and I said, I wanted to meet you. I said, I have a memory. And she said, well, what is it? And I said, it was a bar fight in Cheyenne, Wyoming. She said, wasn't that a hoot?
My version of that is my son was playing lacrosse, and Deborah and I were in California at the time. And it's a club where all the different age groups are together. And I looked down and I go, man, that's Paul Stanley from Kiss. And so you do one of those things where you go, Paul, but you don't look, and then you're kind of looking out peripheral if you turn. So he did. I walk over and talk to him. Very cool guy. We're just now two dads watching our kids play lacrosse. And I said, I was in the Army. I saw you guys in 77 down at Fort Bragg. He goes, oh, that little cracker box place? I go, yeah, Cumberland County Coliseum. And I said, your pyrotechnics set the curtains on fire. And he looks across the field and he goes, yeah, that was a great show.
And they do. They're like us, It's like, but I just remember, like, I didn't know why I went up to her. I thought, I'm like Joe Dokes, and she didn't know me. I said, and we talked about it. We said Larry was there, and she said, and Hooter hit that guy. I said,
she remembered.
Oh,
that's great. That's great.
She really remembered. How close we to a break? 3 minutes. All right, back to the phones we go. We go to Gary in Denver. Gary, special guest is Jonathan from Flora on the show. Good afternoon.
Hi, Peter. I'm enjoying the conversation.
Oh, I love it.
I wanted to ask about Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming Hulk Hogan was using steroids to get as big as he was.
And yeah, as George was saying earlier, they took the vitamin. Peter, who's George? Get out of our conversation. Yeah, they took their vitamins, and they had to, not only for their physique to be larger than life, but steroids also really help in healing. And these guys got banged up. I mean, they do this night after night, and some punches are pulled, some aren't. But when you're body slamming on the floor, you're getting thrown on the ring, it adds up. And these guys, they'll blow a knee out just like any other athlete, or dislocate a shoulder.
Do you know Andre the Giant's body was a little different. It wasn't so chiseled. Was he using steroids as well?
That I can't speak to for him. I don't know, but he had I forget what it's, giantism of some sort.
There's a name for what he had.
Yeah, it's usually when your feet, your hands, and your head get abnormally large, and then the rest of the body is trying to keep up.
It was going to kill him.
And people with that condition, he lived, I think, about 20 years longer than most people with that condition do. And they said it was probably his activity in physical activity could be what prolonged it.
He was.
I'm going to ask this question a little gingerly. I've heard that if you take steroids a long time, it kind of creates problems below the belt. How do they deal with that sort of thing?
Well, I think
we wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know. Yeah, I think everybody you have to answer that to their own accord.
Wouldn't matter anyhow. No.
Yeah.
What I saw was it made. Yeah, I've heard that too. But there are guys with foreheads that get real big and they get a bunch
especially if they took growth hormone.
Yeah,
that's where you would really see the pronounced eyebrows.
And their eyes would turn yellow. And I saw those guys, and I was just told to stay away from them because
they can have their moment.
You don't know what they're going to do. Thank you, sir. We got to take a pause. Let's do that. One more, and we'll come back and wrap the show. This has been so much fun for me. It's 12:39, 710 KNUS. First of all, thank you for today. Wasted days. Friend, huh? There he goes. Johnny Rodriguez, right? And, because you were telling David Allen Coe stories, as you know, he was singing. He had stolen goats. And this is a song they told me all the stories. And David Allen Coe has a song where he says, he said, Johnny Cash helped me get out of prison long before Rodriguez stole the goats. And we met, Bob Lee and we met, and we talked about it. And he said that he was in jail, and Johnny Cash was playing town, and the sheriff come over and said, I got this guy locked up for stealing goats. He said, you got to hear him sing. And Johnny Cash goes over. So we started talking about his career, and this is because you and I were telling great stories. And I said, John, what was the worst bars you ever worked? And well, they worked Tex-Mex border bars.
Oh, yeah.
And the so-called chicken wire bars.
Yeah, I was going to say Blues Brothers with the wire in front of them.
He said he goes in, and the owner of the bar says, John, he said, you got a gun? John said no, and the guy said, well, you better take this one. I got to do Caplis. My good friend Danny Caplis, Caplis Law Firm. Danny suggests you choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you to everybody in the case. We've talked so much. Freddie Fender, I'm so sorry, not Johnny Rodriguez, thank you. Freddie Fender, thank you. So Danny's dad was a cop and his former seminarian, and believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan's also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is now the official partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law's serious firm for serious cases. Believe me, we had some problems, and our family needed help, needed a lawyer. And here comes Danny, and he was the man. So he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard, ability to pay. If you need help, you call Danny at 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or caplislaw.com, CAPLIS-law.com, 770-5551. Final couple of moments with Jonathan Flora, and I can't tell you how much. I mean, I don't. The last show I saved was with James Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, JB.
This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me.
No, please. We've been wanting to do this forever, and so let's see how much time we got left. We got 7 minutes. The death of
been too fast.
The death of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an era that's passed, but it meant so much. He changed everything, didn't he?
He really did.
Yeah.
I mean, even look when he appeared at the Republican convention.
Did you see that?
The place went nuts.
Ripped his shirt off.
Ripped his shirt, and now it's Trump mania.
Yeah.
But he was larger than life, and he changed the perception of a sport that you and I grew up with. And I call it a sport.
Oh, of course.
I mean, it's choreography. And even before Vince got it deregulated, people would talk to me about it being fake or fixed or whatever. I go, you don't ever sit in a movie theater and go, they didn't really shoot all those people. Yeah, right. They didn't really blow that up. No, you buy it for what it is. You're entertained by it. And hopefully you walk out 3 hours later jazzed and excited that you had such a great experience.
No, it's true. And I think that as a kid, when it was on every Saturday
morning for us.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh was Saturday evenings. And we'd be there. Me and my brothers would watch, and they had Bruno.
Now, when you were a kid, did you ever think that you would someday be working the ring or the bell or any of that stuff?
No, I thought that was so fun. I never thought I'd be on radio, let alone do that.
Yeah.
And so, but when I finally got an interview show, and I called the promoter, and I said, can you get me a wrestler? Because I wanted to meet the guys. I didn't necessarily think I was going to get a job out of it, because I was gigging on another thing. But they sent Vern Gagne, and legend. Vern's a legend. And he ends up, that story where he's body slams the old man, and you saw that story. Wow. And now Vern's gone, and the Crusher's gone, Dick the Bruiser's gone, you know, and you were mentioning all those guys that were shooting the juice, and they're gone, and it's closing. It's a chapter.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. And like you said, but what a week this is. And then you said Connie Stevens,
Connie Francis.
Connie Francis. I mean, what a week this has been.
Wow. And Chuck Mangione did a radio show with us, and he came in and he just plays along. You know, you play his record, he'll click a mic on, and he'll play right with it. And again, just the guys you get to meet. And
it's been a blessed life, and you're not done yet.
No,
yeah,
but
we've got, like we said, that desk calendar's thicker on the left than the right. But live with more intentionality and live with purpose.
But we're in the clubhouse turn, pal. Or at least I am.
The back nine, as
back
you
nine, clubhouse turn. You know?
Yep. Yeah.
And no, but I know it. And when Hogan was 71, and you think of all the things that he had done to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, maybe that's the best way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the samurai way. Like, don't wait for old age. Wait. You know, he's not at the top of his game, but he had been at the convention, and you're right. I mean, but the people, the delegates, were us. They were old guys, and they knew who he was. You know.
Yeah.
And they just went crazy. It was the Hulkster.
Yep.
And
I mean, because even when you look back at sports, there's so many great athletes. Every sport has them, but there's always that top 5 or 6 that you'll either talk about because of their athletic ability or whatever fondness you have for them, whether it was something they did or a game moment or they played for their team, something like that.
I always said, when people talk about stars, I said, you know, if either one of our senators or our governor got off the airplane in L.A. or New York, nobody knew who they were. There's 2 guys that live in Colorado that if they got off the airplane in New York, people would point at them. John Elway and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
I mean, we don't have anybody else. I mean.
Well, I don't get starstruck, but I am sitting here.
Forget that.
I'm so glad I came in to do this and not do it over the phone. Look, we got 3 hours. This has been awesome. It's still not long enough.
I could do 3 more. And,
absolutely.
And this is going to replay tomorrow. We ready? All right. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Deborah and the boys and everything. And you guys, I'll see you in 2 Saturdays. We're going. I'm going to the Hajj. I'm going to Mecca. See you, and it'll be interesting to see if Trump shows.
Yeah, that'll be something to talk about.
Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Made my
this
whole
was
week
really, really fun.
All right, everybody, that's it. We're out of here. I'll be checking in with the fellas from Sturgis. I'll be here in town all week, and then the next week we roll. Adam Walker, thank you. Everybody take care of yourselves and have a great weekend.